Okay, can you guys hear us on Zoom? Oh, there's thumbs up. Okay, we're ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting, the General Board meeting, the Isla Vista Community Services District, to order at 6:02 p.m. And I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded. Can we get a roll call, please?
Dr. Carmichael?
Here.
Dr. Brandt?
Here.
Dr. Cepos?
Here.
Dr. Thompson?
Here. Wonderful. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Anascoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Bringing us to our consent agenda. Do any directors have items they would like to pull from the consent agenda? So none. Do we have any public comment consent agenda, either in person or on Zoom? Nope. All righty. We could get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve and appreciate the nunk-pro-tunk that appears there.
Legalese. Yeah.
That's always fun. Thank you for that.
Wonderful. We get a second.
I'll second.
Fantastic. We get a voice vote for the consent agenda.
You just call it.
All right, perfect. We get a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. I'm a bit rusty. Thank you. All right, moving us. It's been a minute. Welcome back, everyone, to our public comment period. So at this time, any member of the public may speak on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Directors that are not on the agenda. The board will not take any action on any item not on the agenda except as provided by law. We have public comment in person or on Zoom.
No one's raised their hand on Zoom.
None in person. We can move on to discussion item 4.1, the introduction of our Public Works Project Manager and Community Engagement Project Manager.
Okay, so we have two people to introduce today. We actually have the whole staff here today, first time. So I'll let Jenna go first to introduce Nico, and then Maya can reintroduce you to Fiona, who's back. Hi, Fiona. I haven't said hi yet.
Yeah, so Nico, I'll also let you introduce yourself, but Nico was in our CLE program, then CAPS, and then I hired him part-time as a sustainability support staff, so boots on the ground, you know, out there abating graffiti, picking up trash, glass, all of that. And he was just so impressive that I ended up hiring him right when he graduated full-time. So he was working this position part-time while going to school for a little while. And then as of June, he's now full-time and doing an absolutely amazing job with the operations, mainly around Isla Vista Beautiful composting type deal. So, you know, public works and sustainability, and he has just exponentially improved these programs. And yeah, I just can't say enough great things about him and all that he's done in just the short time that he's been working on these projects. So we're appreciative to have Nico. You just want to give a quick intro about yourself, Nico?
Yeah, I'm Nico. As kind of Jenna already introduced, I'm the Public Works Project Manager. I guess I need to go over the process by which I was hired because she just did. And I appreciate all the comments about, I guess, my work. So yeah, I essentially help run the Public Works Department. So that includes managing staff who go out there and do graffiti abatement, litter pickup, or compost collective. You've probably seen them around maybe in the vest. They do a variety of different tasks and it's really great. And just generally work in that area, not getting into too many specifics right off the bat. And I was a UCSD student, obviously, 4 years, graduated this past June, and then immediately transitioned into full-time. So it's great to be working here.
And Nico, he went out and has swept most of the streets in IV by hand
Yeah.
in the curb and is doing data collection. So we know how to do better street sweeping, to advise better street sweeping from the other districts. So that's been great. I mean, you've done so many other things, but that's been a big one.
Yay, Nico, welcome.
And I have seen you out and about. You always look very locked in, but also like you're enjoying yourself. You've got your music and you're like always going through doing stuff. And I think like, oh, someone's got to do something about that. And then there you are doing something about it. So it's great to have you here full time.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. And then I will reintroduce / introduce, if you guys do not remember, Fiona the Fabulous. Fiona is amazing. She started off working as compost collective worker. She's also worked on our mobility project and mobility study. She also was our community engagement project manager about a year ago. And I feel so lucky to have her back on the team, and I'm so glad that she's here. She has really hit the ground running, getting parking information out ready to parents. She's super familiar with every single one of our programs, either because she's worked them herself or because she has intertwined herself in all of the amazing activities that they do. I love how proactive Fiona is. Her design style is I can't say enough words of praise, but I'll let you talk about yourself a little bit. We're so lucky and happy to have her back. Thank you, Maya. I'm the community engagement project manager once again. It feels great to be back. I love my role and my position here, working under Maya. I don't know much to say. I feel like you covered a lot of it, but I'm just so thankful and happy and excited to be back. And I love seeing all the improvements and changes that have happened since I've left. It's really cool, coming back and learning about everything new that's going on. So I'm really excited to start working on all of that. Yeah, thank you.
You're the second longest serving employee. Started in 2020, right?
Yeah,
March 2020, April 2020. So
So were you out of town when you were not with us?
Yeah, I was traveling for a bit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But it's nice to come back to Island Vista.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to be back in Santa Barbara. It kind of feels like things don't change, but in a good way. Like everything feels familiar and nice. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for having me back.
we have a full team, and you guys just approved the outreach coordinator in the consent agenda. So we'll have one more in September.
Mighty team member.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Right. Kim, unless we have anything else or any other, if you have public comment for this item, we can move on to 4.2, our safety station annual report, although let me not cut off public comments.
No public comment.
Okay, perfect. We can get into our next agenda item for safety stations.
Okay, so we have Pam Gebhardt here from the UC Police Department on Zoom. And so we're gonna pull up the presentation and Pam will take it away. But give me 1 second, Pam, you can start introducing yourself while I pull up the.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry I cannot be there in person today, but I wanted to join in over Zoom for our presentation. My name is Pam Gebhardt. I am the CSO coordinator at UCSB Police Department. I manage all of our student safety partners. They are all student employees who work for the police department. They are all unarmed students who they provide security services and just kind of make the area a safer place for everybody. So if you guys are ready.
We're ready.
We're good? Okay. So presentation, the safety station. It's more than water, it's more than a tent, it's a safe place for people to gather, to wait for a ride, make a report if necessary, get in contact with an officer, or if people need help, there's phone charging there. So we like to say it's more than what people always say, oh, you're the tent that gives out water. We're more than that. So next slide.
I think this is the next slide.
Slide. And then maybe the next one. Okay. So our kind of the safety station where we essentially started, this was our first station ever, is at Little Acorn Park. This is kind of just a setup of what it looks like, not exactly the area, but of how it looks on any given Friday or Saturday night. We can do the next slide. So here are kind of some of the statistics from this past year for Little Acorn Park only. So in fall quarter, which ran from September 26th through November 22nd, we had a total of 15 nights that were serviced out there and a total of 2,062 contacts. And then it's kind of broken down into kind of the various areas of service we provide. They did 5 safety escorts that were dispatched, which means somebody will call in to our dispatch center and request a safety escort. In-field safety escorts or when people walk up to the tent. And then obviously, like I said, we give out water, we give out masks, there's phone charging, reporting, if people are waiting for a ride share or waiting for friends, direction, or, you know, kind of miscellaneous others. Usually that's a lot of like lost and found property or stuff like that. Moving on to winter quarter, that ran January 9th through March 17th, again, 17 nights total. We had 1,868 contacts. And then kind of again broken down from there to dispatched and then 13 in field escorts. And the next slide. For spring quarter, it ran April 3rd through May 30th with a total of 19 nights total and a total of 2,836 contacts. Again, broken down, 1 dispatch escort and then 4 in field escorts. And then we can move on to the next slide. Sorry, the graphic isn't really playing. It's supposed to kind of do a spotlight and go over to where the next location was. But this is our next location, our second one. It's Window to the Sea Park. We do the next slide. For this location, we were only able to service it for 2 out of the 3 UCSB quarters, fall and spring. We do often have some like hiring challenges in winter quarter, and just with the weather and stuff like that, it is a little bit more difficult to staff 2 stations. So for fall quarter, we were able to staff 13 nights with 2,867 contacts. And then spring quarter, which ran May 8th through May 30th. Again, a little bit shorter, just for the staffing we had. 8 nights total with a total of 827 contacts. And the next slide. So a safety station overview. We operate the 2 safety stations in IV Friday and Saturday evenings from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Again, like I mentioned earlier, these are staffed by our student safety partners who are unarmed UCSB student employees. Again, the locations are at Little Acorn Park and Window to the Sea Park. Initially, the stations were put in place to reduce or eliminate, in the case of walk-up, safety escort response times in the IV area. It was meant for a safe space for all and an accessible source of information and assistance. Next slide. So kind of here's a little bit of background regarding our CSO training. And then CSO is a very broad, it's a community service organization, and our student safety partners obviously work for that program. They all receive 40 hours of administrative training, like classroom style training, which includes learning radio, procedures, maps, policies, procedures, bicycles. They get trained or training from CAPS, CARE, Cleary, CSA, Green Dot, Sexual Harassment, and Title IX, dispatch training, hostile intruder training, and all SSPs have had a have been fingerprinted and have a background check. And then this picture is one from this past year, Deltopia, at one of the stations that we had up. And the next slide. So, and then this picture is at the second location we had. A couple of things from the SSPs regarding feedback, just possibly some heating solutions for the tents. It does get chilly out there in the overnight hours. Some minor first aid supplies, possibly a new lighting option. The current lights we have only last for about half the shift. And then they kind of makeshift with some other lighting we have. Possibly a new pump solution. And then distribution of maybe liquid IV. And then a little bit more visibility, hopefully during Deltopia. Our numbers that we had this year were only about half compared to last year. And I know things were changing and we're kind of trying to move forward to a new, in a new direction. So hopefully that will help as well for next year. And then some things to move forward with, partnering with UCSB and community organizations with the intent of providing equal safety escort opportunities and outcomes for all. Again, I know we always mention this opening up our third safety station. And then again, like always, everyone is invited to come out, spend an hour or two at one of our safety stations. And then the next slide is if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I also put down our UCSB community outreach team that is ran by 2 of our sworn police officers at the at UCPD. But if you want to reach out to them as well, they're available. And then that concludes my presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. So we're gonna open up to some questions from the board. I had a question to start out. First of all, thank you so much for coming to present, and hopefully we can see you in person next time. I had some questions about some of the staffing challenges and some of the feedback that was noted from the CSO staff. I was curious what had been done about these issues and what we as a board can do to assist going further, just since I know that staffing challenges have been a persistent issue, and some of the challenges the CSO staff brought up of heating and lighting have also been a persistent issue over the years.
Yeah. Honestly, with staffing, we've tried to come up with some solutions. We definitely have our name out there. So helping to promote that, I don't know if you guys have a flyer or job board or anything like that. If people are looking for jobs, they have to be a UCSB student and they have to have a driver's license and obviously pass like a fingerprint and a background check. That part is usually fine. It's when it comes down to the amount of training that's needed, it does take around 6 to 8 weeks before they're completely trained. And then, the hours, they're not the most favorable hours, and it does have to work. I know some people like it because it works with their schedule. But then other people are like, you expect me to work till 3 or 4 in the morning? That's when a lot of our shifts run. So I'm not exactly sure, but it is finding kind of the right people who can pass kind of all of our requirements, and then, it works for their schedule as well. Because I know, obviously it's only open to UCSB students, and it's hard for students, and I understand that.
Yeah, so is there anything that the district is doing to address some of these issues, just because the safety stations do such important work for IV, and we consistently hear from the community that they want more support like that. And yeah, the nature of the job is difficult, but it's just such an important service in IV.
We've offered to pay a differential rate for the people who do this shift, but I think it needs to go through the UCSB process. But we've said that we'd be interested in paying more for the people who do our shift.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful.
I know we've met earlier, and I think that those conversations, I'm not sure where we are with that, or even with my like my chain of command. I know that was something that we talked about. I just don't know where we are in that process. But I think definitely meeting more and trying to figure out a solution would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Spencer.
Thank you so much, Pam, for being here and giving the presentation. I just have a general question about where things are right now. I think that the community, in a lot of ways, is really on edge with some of the timely warnings that have gone out recently that involve violence from strangers to students. While it might not be in Isla Vista proper, if you're looking at the box boundaries, it's still very close to us. And so can you describe how is the CSO program, sort of preparing and helping educate or sort of respond to, incidents like that when they happen? Are these opportunities to try to increase the utilization of the walking escorts?
It definitely is. And so when, unfortunately, when things happen, I think that's when people want to utilize our service even more. And whether that's out of fear or whether that's out of, whatever, just offering a safety escorts. So kind of how that happens is if something happens in our jurisdiction area, my lieutenants or even the chief of police will come to me and say, hey, Pam, we would like to get some SSPs to kind of either do some, like a few years or maybe a couple years ago when we had the, like a possible abduction. I don't know if you guys remember that out in Isla Vista. So we stationed more SSPs around like the basketball games on campus. We had more SSPs available around like the dorms, the residence halls. And so they kind of asked me to upstaff our numbers. And so because people are utilizing our services when things like that happen. So obviously, depending on what type, we don't want to put our SSPs in danger, but we want to make sure that students feel safe and they know that we have those services available to them.
Well, that's really important and good to hear that. I mean, these are scary incidents that really, at the same time, it's an opportunity, I think, to really remind the community that this important service exists and should be utilized. I had another question that was similar to something that Director Carmichael touched on, which is I looked at the slide with all of the challenges just about working conditions, about the lights and the heater. And I too remember seeing those in years past. So I guess this is more just of a comment of help us help you. Let's solve these issues. These seem like issues that are of low expenditures. I would love to see a budget request as a part of the next contract to make sure that we can get those things done.
Okay, that sounds good. I will do that. It kind of, I think I always try to just be like, no, we're okay. We can handle like you guys just work with what we have, like our SSPs. And I don't want to just be frivolous with like money and stuff like that. But I do know that at a certain point, it's like, no, we need to make sure we have adequate supplies for them out there. We did get hand warmers last year. Sydney helped us order a bunch of those. And so those really helped them for that, one of the solutions. And so, yes, I will make sure and add that into our next budget request.
Well, I appreciate that feedback and I appreciate your frugality. And I also hear what you shared with me when we met about this in April and what Director Carmichael alluded to, which is staffing is a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so anything that we can do to try to make working conditions better for employees, I think really feels to me like the right thing to do. It's really hard to, especially in times where people are feeling fearful, to be able to tell the community we don't have enough staff to meet all of our needs.
Yeah, I definitely second that, just because this program is so critical for the community, but it seems that there's been, unresolved issues going throughout the years. I know we traditionally get an annual report from you, but I would love to see some update on what the department is doing to address staffing challenges, maybe some new solutions or some updates on this differential rate that Jonathan was talking about. Maybe that could come alongside the ask that the Director Brandt had asked for, just that we can get a little bit more action on this as the school year starts going up, rather than waiting another year again.
Okay, that sounds good. I can definitely do that.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much.
I had one more question. Sorry,
yeah,
not quite time. One of the things on your slide for the future was the opening of the third station, and I know that staffing obviously has made that a challenge to be able to do. But do we have a sort of a timeline or a target for when we would want to open that third station, when we will be fully staffed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the term fully staffed is very, we have 55 student employees and we are budgeted slated for 85. So I know that sounds like, oh wow, we still have 30, but fall is our biggest hiring time, which we should be up and running by, end of fall quarter, we should be fully staffed. But there's always people who are coming and going. So I always say like fully staffed is always like the goal, but it's kind of always an ebb and flow throughout. I think one of the biggest challenges that we had recently when talking about the third station was coming up with an adequate location with lighting, and then where that location was going to be. I think if we can all come in agreement on that third location and make sure it's obviously a safe spot for SSPs and people coming up to the tent, making sure they're not on the roadways and things like that. So I don't have like a, yes, we can start September 1st on that third location. I think once we kind of figure out like the location, I believe we would be able to staff it.
I think we had settled on Greek Park back in 2024.
Yeah, I just remember there were lighting issues there. And then also because of where the location was, putting it on we couldn't put it on the basketball court. So putting it on the corner would kind of lead people into the street is what I kind of remember about that area. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think definitely worth some offline conversations. Yeah, just wanted to pull on the thread since it's listed in the presentation.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, IVCSD, our safety stations are honestly our most popular shift that people like to work. They like being out with the community, and it's fun for them. So as long as, like I said, we have enough people to staff and like we can come up with a good safe location for that third safety station, that's on our, hopefully we can get that accomplished this year.
Great, thank you, Pam.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions from board members? Do we have any public comments, either in person or on Zoom?
No raised hands on Zoom.
Oh, yes, sorry, public comment.
I'm very grateful for all the tents. I see them. I know that myself and many of my peers are very grateful. And if there's any way the community, if there's any outreach we can do with different community members to help outreach staff, let us know, because I think so many people are grateful, and I'm sure I haven't heard of it personally, or like I haven't heard of how to become a staff member or get involved. So if there's any way for more outreach, I think that there'd be a lot of people that would be grateful to help.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, I would say one of the biggest things I think that community members or students could do is honestly just spread the word. I think with the nature of obviously this being a school and we have people constantly moving, sometimes I feel like the generational knowledge isn't passed down. And while we do a lot of outreach on campus and our phone numbers on the back of on every access card, and they're out there. I just don't think people, for some reason, know about safety escorts or the safety stations. So I think just making sure, like, for all community members, all students, this service is open to all community members. You do not have to be a student. So just passing that information along would help us. And the more interaction we get with the community, I think is great.
Sorry, one more question. I know that for some people, especially, there's one station that was almost on the way to the San Nicolas dorms, like the Lagoon area. I know there was some confusion about students being worried they would get in trouble if they asked for help. So maybe finding ways to also express, like if people need water, I'd rather they go get water and help than stay back because they're scared they'd get in trouble, especially at that station, just because that's where a lot of the freshmen go. And a lot of the times the freshmen are the ones that maybe are in danger or are endangering their health that night just because they're new to the environment. They're newer to a lot of substance abuse that happens on campus. So maybe if there's a way to explain that it's like, we'd rather people be safe than sorry,
And again, like I mentioned, this is kind of going back to like the generational knowledge, is that all these tents are ran by our students. And so if somebody comes up to the tent, whether they're if they're intoxicated enough where they need medical attention, then we will call for help. But if it's somebody who's just a little intoxicated, they're stopping just to get water, and they're heading back to their residence hall, great, that's exactly what it's for. We're trying to, get the water out. If they need an escort or safety escort home, then we will provide that. We are not there to get people in trouble. We are not there to call, even though they work for the police department, they're not there to call the police on them to get them arrested or get them in trouble. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there, is that no, unless somebody is in serious need of medical aid, that's the only time when they're going to call in, or trouble, or like obviously like a dangerous situation. But if it's not those two things, then they're just there to give them water. And if they need a safety escort, walk home, then that's what they're there to provide.
Thank you for your help, and I'll make sure to start spreading the word.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have,
Also, side note, like really capitalize on handshake, because I know most students, that's like the first place they look for jobs. And I know in the past, like, I don't think I've ever seen the CSOs popping up on there, like in the early August, like early September.
We are on there. We've really utilized it in the spring quarter of this year. It was kind of got one of those things where it sort of fell off, but we're back on there. It should be popping up soon. We just don't hire until the fall quarter, and so that's why we take it down over the summer. But it should be popping up soon. So yes, thank you for that.
Righty. We don't have any other board comment or public comment. We can move on to our next agenda item.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Yeah, thank you so much for coming by. So, moves us along to our next agenda item, 4.3, our resolution 2631, thanking M Special for Sociopia contributions.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bump this one to September because they couldn't make it today anymore, but they'll be back soon.
That's okay. Yeah, so we're moving on now to our parking compliance reports.
All right, well, Casey and Jenna are here to go over it with you, and it's a really fantastic report of how we've been doing on the parking program so far. So I'll get the share screen going and I'll let them take it away.
All right, hi everyone. And you all know Casey. She's been doing an amazing job as our parking compliance project manager. So let's get into it. There are a million different things that I could have focused on, but try to keep it concise. First, I quickly just went over some of our milestones. Again, there's been many milestones to get us to where we are today, but it was just recently, late 2025, that we were planning this program and researching for it, deciding what it was gonna be. April 17th is when we issued the first warning citation, and April 27th is when the first citation was issued. And we've definitely seen compliance throughout the community. That is very noticeable. And now we are just focusing on program education, development, and customization. So quickly going into some of our data ticket statistics, just a small part of a much larger initiative. So looking here, we can see what the most common violations have been. Parked in the red zone is a huge one, parked on the sidewalk, also a big one, and it just goes from there. Just please note that around 300 to 400 of these are actually warnings and not citations, but we're not able to parse them out. So here you just get a full picture, and we've only had 140 appeals total. So that kind of says to me that people generally know that they're not supposed to be parking where they were parking. So next, we just have a cool map of all the open and on hold, closed, and warnings. So very even spread all across Isla Vista. But next, getting into what I think is most important and most unique about our program, and just goes to show how important it is that we have this local program, because I guarantee, like, the sheriff's department, no disrespect to them, but they wouldn't be able to get into the nitty-gritty and make the connections that we are making. So next page, I just wanted to go over a little bit about the resident reports that we've been getting. So the really good news is that people generally, they're starting to know who to contact for these problems, which is awesome. And there's always going to be someone there to either pick up or answer your email within 72 hours. As it says there, people have been contacting us by phone, email, in person, and we've received over 25 reports from residents. In the middle, I just included a few of the examples that we've responded to, such as there's a Jeep parked in the Lime scooter corral that was actually sent in by the person who manages the scooters, or there's a car parked in the red near an extremely busy intersection. Or there's a car parked in front of my driveway. And again, we can't tow, but we can at least respond in some way, and that's huge. Is there anything you want to add? Because Casey is mainly the one who responds to these reports.
Yeah, I would just say we definitely, once people know who to contact, they reach out more. So we've gotten a lot of repeat reports. People have reached out a few times, and that's nice to see.
Yeah. Okay. So next, really cool, very important conversations that they have in the field. There are many, and we try to document as many as possible. They have given over 190 verbal warnings where no citation was issued. The problem was resolved right there on the spot. And then, of course, frequent distribution of resources, very difficult to actually count, but we've actually created our own houseless resources brochure, and it has all the local, most easiest to obtain resources for those experiencing homelessness in Isla Vista that we hand out. We talk about our off-street parking marketplace, and then of course all other general IVCSD services, and of course our brochures. They are equipped with most of our outreach materials to talk about and meet the needs of anyone who they come across. And then again, here's just a few examples of the conversations people have in the field. Casey, do you want to go over? Because some of these are actually situations that Casey has been in.
Yeah, so the last one actually happened before we were even writing citations. There was somebody who reached out about cars that were parked long-term on a street. We went out to just go talk to them, and we found out that one of the residents was like living in their car.
we provided some resources. It was a student, and they were able to move their car within the 72 hours, I believe. And but that was just us being able to help before we were even chalking or writing tickets. And then another one is like a lot of times we'll be walking and see somebody pulling up to park illegally. That's the first one here. It was watch someone pull in to park directly in front of a fire hydrant, was able to talk to them and like show them the spots across the street that were available to them. And they moved and they were happy that they didn't get the ticket. And we have had a lot of people like thank us for talking to them instead of just like waiting for them to leave the car. So there's been a lot of talking to people who are on their balcony and trying to figure things out and get a car moved whenever possible.
And on the note of this fire hydrant one, someone parking in front of a fire hydrant when there's spaces across the street, I think it goes to show that because there's been no enforcement, I think people, they see an illegal spot, but it's legal for all other purposes because they usually wouldn't get a citation. And so when it comes to, for example, like sidewalks, sometimes people just have to pull up 3 more feet and they're in the clear. Or for this example, there were spaces across the street, but she didn't even look for them because usually it wouldn't matter where she parked. So yes, we're very over capacity, but there are a lot of these situations where it is possible to do the right thing. And finally, with this program, we're incentivizing them and educating them to do so. And then lastly, the middle one kind of just goes full circle on what we talked about the previous page, that we were called to check out a Jeep parked in the scooter zone, and we actually were able to talk to the owner of the vehicle, and he moved his car right away to a legal spot.
I will also note on that one, that was also before we were writing tickets, that was during the warning period, so he moved his car even without a warning issued. Like, he knew that even if he left it there, I wouldn't write like a physical ticket, and he still moved it, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, conversations face to face go a long way. All right, next page, please. So one really big problem that we've run into is the fact that people are either being assigned or they fully believe that they're being assigned parking spaces that are completely illegal and in the public right of way. And so early on, it just became clear this is something that we're going to have to deal with because it's really not fair if we're issuing people citations and they were sold the space. So I just want to give one actual example of something that we ran into in the very beginning. Some residents on Cordova received a warning for parking in a space that they were actually sold. We were able to obtain proof that they were sold a permit in order to park in that space. We then granted them a grace period to kind of figure it out with their property owner. We contacted them as well, which we can't do every time, but we were very curious. And ultimately, the issue was resolved. They don't park there anymore, and we noticed actually compliance at other properties with the same property management company. So good on them. Seems like they were proactive once they realized that this was actually happening. So we're not stopping there. We're really trying some proactive deterrence strategies. We don't want this to be happening. Of course, we're trying to talk to the tenants, encouraging them to take action if sold an illegal parking space, and just kind of making them aware of the fact that like this does happen, and also encouraging property owners to rid of any illegal parking spaces and to clarify a property's parking capacity thoroughly. So just specifying, because even if they didn't sell a space, not specifying how many spots they can fit in a driveway is problematic. And so we are recommending things like physical delineation, striping that shows where sidewalk ends, driveway starts, lease addendum.
It's okay.
So I don't know if you
It's a weird
remember,
word.
but we I do that every time. We drafted thing that people could add on to their lease if they wanted to, just clarifying the parking situation at their property. So encouraging them to use that and encouraging them to reach out to their tenants about this issue. Okay. Next, this is really exciting. I feel like this is also something that's been very clearly successful in several instances, is just facilitating car movement. As we know from our parking study, over 20% of cars sit in the same spot for over 72 hours, meaning they're being stored, most likely, they're not being relied on every day. And so with this program, we've been able to get those cars to move, or just at least get people to feel like they can't store their cars there like they have been. So commercial parking turnover has been a really big thing, and businesses are loving us for this because, as you might know, car turnover in business areas is great for business because it allows people to park there, have lunch, leave, and then the next person comes and does that cycle again. So increased enforcement of time parking zones, like I said, have been in supporting local businesses, and then redirecting food trucks from timed and red zones to legal parking spaces, hopefully on private property, because there's been a few situations where, as it says, they've been parked in 15-minute zones for a very long time, or parked in a red zone, whatever it may be. We're talking to them, keeping it moving. Easing community concerns. Long-term residents especially are very appreciative for the enforcement of the 72-hour violations. Many of the resident reports concern cars parked over 72 hours. And it's clear that the 72-hour notices effectively encourage car movement most of the time without a citation at all. So basically what happens is they go out, if they notice that a car looks like it's been sitting there for a super long time, or if someone reports it, those are usually why we go out there. They chalk the vehicle digitally, so they take a photo of the valve stem, and then we put a notice on it that basically says you need to move your car within 72 hours. And what I'm saying is that the notice itself is usually enough to get people to move it. And only in a few instances, CHP was called to tow some cars that had been there for weeks or months. Like these cars, the mirrors were broken off, and yeah, very bad shape. And before I turn it over to you, on the next page, I just want to show a couple real life examples of how this is played out. So for example, the first one says that we received a complaint about a vehicle parked in the same space for 3 days. The car was noticed with that 72-hour warning, and it had moved by the next morning. Another instance, 2 cars were parked on Camino Mallorca long-term. We noticed the cars, had a great conversation with the owner of the cars, and the next day they were promptly moved onto the owner's private property. And then lastly, there was a car parked in daylighting zone that received several citations over the course of multiple days. Not sure why that didn't deter them in itself, but upon going to notice the vehicle for 72-hour violation, they ran into the owner's roommate, explained the problem, and the car was moved within minutes. Do you have anything to add? Okay. Okay, so next, one big thing that we've been working on is infrastructure improvement. We've been talking a lot with Santa Barbara County Public Works to advocate for the improvement of parking infrastructure with the goal of increasing the likelihood of compliance. We don't want to give someone a citation if they're parked next to a sign that doesn't make sense. We want it to make sense because we don't want people to park there in the first place. And so we've been working hard to advocate for the updating and improving signage, updating curb colors to match county resolutions, because we've kind of noticed that There have been some people painting curbs colors that they're not supposed to be. And then, of course, the removal of things just like obstructions, like shrubbery covering red curbs or stickers on signage. And that actually has made a huge difference. Real life example over on the corner of El Colegio and Embarcadero Del Mar, the bushes were growing over the red curb. And when you turn right on Embarcadero Del Mar off of El Colegio and there is a car parked there, it is so dangerous. So since those bushes have been cut and the red curb is more obvious, people actually haven't been
They've
parking
been
there.
respecting it more.
Yeah. Anything to add there?
I have something that's gone.
Let me know if you think of it. Okay, and then next slide, I will pass this one off to Casey. It's very important.
Yeah, so this is just talking about how a lot of things that we identify and report back to other people while out there, like infrastructure problems, maintenance issues, and anything like beautification related. Nico and I made a form so that all the parking staff can easily send things to him, and then he can then parse it out to his people, and we can get things cleaned up pretty quick, and especially with like bulky items, it's easy for us to get that coordinated now. And things to just, provide a visible presence that'll help residents. So yeah, a couple mornings, like these are some examples of things that we've been doing. When I was out one morning, I did run into a guy who was passed out in one of the parks. And I had just passed one of his dogs on the street. And so I was able to like kind of wake him up safely from a distance, and we spoke and I helped him find his dog, and luckily I had the dog treats on me. And so we were able to go track down his dog, and he got his dog back, which was great. Or like, as a UPS fan, they don't normally have good places to park. So they ended up blocking somebody in who was trying to leave. And I was able to walk around and try and help find the UPS man, and she honked her horn. And we eventually got her out of there quicker than probably would have been otherwise. But yeah, it's just been great to be able to talk to people. There's another example of helping somebody remove the drain cap from their car while out and about in IV. So it's just been a lot of extra services provided outside of just parking.
Yeah, which is awesome that we have extra visible presence out there on the street. People know they can come to them for help. So just a short slide on what's next. So for one, we want to start considering a residential parking permit program and what that looks like. And so September 22nd, during that board meeting, Dixon is going to give a little presentation about what a parking permit program can look like in Isla Vista. We will continue to gather insight on the status quo and facilitate improvement, especially when it comes to signage, curb colors and types, loading zones and deliveries around the loop. We've noticed that that's an area that I think it needs kind of a cohesive plan before we start moving forward. But as I said, we'll need to study it first and figure out what the best way forward is. Next is just to spread our educational material regarding the pains of car ownership in IV, alternative transportation, the ability to find off-street parking, etc. And we're especially trying to do that now since it's summer break, and then of course during fall quarter, in hopes people will bring their car home during winter break if they did bring it during fall quarter. And Fiona is working on some fantastic additions to our website to support this outreach. And we also want to really specifically emphasize reaching out to parents. So not only the students, but the parents as well, especially of newer incoming students. And then just continuing to maximize the number of positive interactions with this program through tabling, canvassing, incentives, prizes, and more. And then that's the end. Thank you.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, I love a good PowerPoint presentation slide. This is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, rolling out any new program is going to have challenges, and this is actually going, you know, really smoothly and really well, especially considering that we're giving tickets out to people, which is, you know, not everyone's most favorite activity. But I really appreciate the emphasis not just on ticketing, but on, you know, working through illegally assigned spaces, which, you know, happens all the time, and having these conversations with people and giving out extra support and just being, you know, like a relatable person instead of like a cop. I think it makes our program a lot more successful and us a lot more approachable. So I appreciate all the extra work that you're doing. Do you have any board, Fabian?
I want to applaud you on what a wonderful job you're doing, and we're very impressed. I think the whole board was concerned as we were embarking on this to hear that parking enforcement staff is subject to a lot of PTSD. They have the ire of the community directed at them sometimes, and I know that you've needed to get backup from the foot patrol in the past, and so when they're not as available as they have been, I'm just concerned that you would have a way to stay safe, and wondering how you're doing in those regards.
Yeah, I will say that the foot patrol backup was, they went to a house after the fact, so it wasn't in the moment, like immediate danger. They were more there to like discourage them from being, encourage them to be more respectful in the future. And to just try and create a safer situation after the fact, but it wasn't an immediate call that was needed. I'd say I have had like not positive interactions, obviously, but I wouldn't say that any that made me like fear for my safety. And I'm not gonna say it's the least stressful job in the world, but it hasn't been too rough.
Well, you always are smiling, so that's a good sign to us, definitely. But I do just want to say that that is of a great concern to the board in general. And so we want you to feel like you can get whatever infrastructure you need to feel safe. And so if things are developing, you know, we are really committed to solving this problem.
Yeah, we did meet with UCPD because now that the foot patrol is cut, we met with UCPD just to make them aware more, because they can be potential backup. And Jenna and Casey and I were on a Zoom this morning with a body cam company. So we're looking at options, not the only one, but we're researching using body cams as another safety mechanism.
I do think that's a big conversation and decision, though, that should be had. Yeah, because there's pros and cons to both. And so far, it seems like it's been going pretty well.
Great.
Also, I really respect the practice of like trying to communicate with the residents before ticketing. Like, I think that's really important because we're trying to establish positive like interactions with the community. So 10 out of 10. That makes me really happy.
Something we've really been trying to do, especially at businesses, if we see people around outside, especially Kajay, that red corner, it's always got somebody in it. And normally we're able to find somebody pretty quick because they're sitting outside or they're waiting in line, and we're able to get them to move their car.
Also, like, are you enjoying the job? Like, is there any other support that like you need from us?
Other support, not that I can think of. It's been great to talk to people.
Okay, cool.
And this is just such a fraction of what's been going on. I mean, Casey does so much more than just issuing citations at this point, and it's not just a fraction of your job, but that's just how it feels, because she has her hands in everything, just helping us train our team members, create policies, documentation, come up with new ideas. She's just been like, I don't know how I would ever do this without her. So this is really like such a small snapshot of what we've been up to.
She's maybe the only person, I mean, Nico as well, who are out in IV on the street looking for problems. And like, you know, seeing the person passed out with their dog walks, like lots of things like that are always happening. So we're finding that.
100%.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think if you look up in the dictionary, parking enforcement, you probably see synonyms like inflexible and unfriendly and adversarial. And I just am really happy that with the program that we've created, we've decided to do it the Iowa Vista way, where we are saying, yes, we need compliance with the law, but first and foremost, we want to try to work with you to help you comply with the law. And so I really appreciated in the presentation where you talked about the goal of the program is not just to give out citations. The goal is to get compliance, because that's what this is all for, right? To be able to make sure that these health and safety violations, these fire hydrants being blocked, these driveways being blocked, are just not a thing anymore. So just so many kudos to you for all of the work that you've done over the first 3 months to get this stood up. And I have a couple questions just on some of the things you presented on. The first is, how are we doing on the program in terms of staffing? Are we hiring right now for any positions?
We just hired 2 additional parking ambassadors, so they're both part-time, and they seem pretty solid. Casey's done an awesome job training them. They're not out there by themselves just yet. I think maybe next week or so.
I'd say, yeah, probably sometime late next week, they'll be able to do it by themselves. We've been doing a lot of just like basic learning, everything. But they really have a good mentality for it in terms of doing everything you like, not wanting to give a bunch of tickets. We're trying to get compliance, and trying to talk to people whenever possible.
Yeah,
And
so
there's
we're doing
students?
good.
Oh, sorry, there's students?
No,
One
one
is
is
a
a
student,
student
and
and the other is not.
Okay.
And she's like very interested in city planning and alternative transportation and
Fantastic.
stuff. So they both have their awesome strengths. So I think we're doing pretty well. And since it's summer, it's been very mellow. That's why we've kind of been focusing on some other things like education and organization, policies, that kind of thing. But I think it's perfect timing because they will learn everything just before September pulls around.
We are gonna be doing the training with Captain
Mhm.
Nicholas.
Yeah,
as well.
so they'll be having a de-escalation training on Saturday.
Oh, fantastic.
Excellent. Well, that's really great to hear. And I'm really excited that we've got some additional support for you, Casey. You were like the OG, right? And it's really exciting to see that you get to be involved in helping train them too. My other question was just about the vigilante red curb, because it doesn't serve anyone if we've got curbs that are red, but they're not red for a reason. Have we thought about just strategies along that? I know this is a big issue the city of Santa Barbara has had to deal with over many years too, for private property owners that will paint curbs red.
Yeah, you guys have been working on that.
Oh, yeah. Casey has documented every red curb and compared them to the actual resolutions. And, it's up to the county. Ultimately, we can't just go and fix them, but they have all the information and we're continuously following up. And they're on board too, so they're being awesome about it. So that's in progress.
That's great. And do we have a timeline on any of that?
I think maybe it was supposed to start last week, but I'm not sure if it did.
They just went and painted the middle lines in the street this week, so could be in progress, yeah.
And that's Public Works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent. Well, really glad that that's moving. That's an important one. Also, I think it's helpful the community knows that not only are we trying to achieve compliance, but we're also not trying to have people comply with something that's unclear, right? That we are trying to help people find a place to park because we know that it's hard. And then the last thing I was going to say is just you spoke about the line of sight issues on Embarcadero del Mar, and I just want to say, as a resident that drives that corner and walks it every day, thank you for working on that. That was a really dangerous situation, and I'm glad that we are moving closer to a resolution there.
course, it took longer than we would have hoped, but it got done, and so hopefully it'll be quicker in the future.
And so a part of that, did the county issue a notice to the property owner to clear vacate public right of way?
So that is something that we need to figure out. We told the county about it on several occasions and then it got done. And I had offered to help actually contact the building owner, but they never took me up on that. So either they went ahead and did it or they had the property owner do it. But that is like exactly what we need to find out. Because going forward, we'll just go that direct route next time.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your work. Excellent presentation.
Any other board questions? All right, I'll open up to public comment either in person or on Zoom. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Jeff, and I just want to thank you so much. This program was a godsend. I live at 761 Camino Pescadero, next to Merton House. There is a red curb on both sides. When you pull out, there's a double yellow line. Almost everybody takes a left there. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's a legal turn or not. I usually try to take a right. But either way, the red curbs, and before this program, every day, almost all day, there were people parked on the red curb. I talked to the housing authority. I talked about generally this problem with the director of public works of the county. A new tenant actually called CHP and had this guy towed who had his van there for like a week. And their BMWs and Lexuses, these are not hardship cases. $35 is a quarter tank of gas. I was so frustrated. The yellow paint was fading. I seriously thought in terms about going out there with the paintbrush at night. And at the secondhand store, I found a yellow vest that said County Public Works. So I had my plan in place. And the next step was due diligence. Is this illegal? Is this, a felony or a misdemeanor or what, or infraction? And do I want to do the grill work? And then this I started seeing the yellow, the pink slips. Oh my God. And I found the extras and I stocked them up and I tucked them in some lunch bags.
Oh,
It still didn't work. The cars were still there. And so finally, the day came when these apparently started issuing, and all of a sudden it is now so much safer to pull out. And so, and it's, it's a very serious issue. We had that fatal accident on El Colegio not that long ago. It's a very serious issue. I saw an accident right on that corner. Somebody got T-boned going out. Thank God nobody was hurt. We did have a dog get hit. We had a tenant get hit. It was very dangerous. So thank you. That reawakened my interest and faith in the CSD. I was very active in very early stage, and then I kind of stepped back. So thank you so much. And I got one other thing, well, two other things to say. As to hardship, people can go into court. If you go into court and say, hey, I'm a student and I'm very low on money, and that was, my 1965 Volkswagen bus, and I had enough money for gas to get to court, Your Honor. The judge will drop it down to $5-10. I know for a fact they will do that if you just show up in court. So people give a hard time, just like, just go to court and then, just tell them if you don't have the money. $35 not that much. All right, and not to get too involved in, not to bogart the mic, but I gotta say, as far as the dictionary definition, I gotta remind y'all, if you go back to the old school rock and roll, there was a song called Lovely Rita, Meet Her Maid. So that is actually kind of counterintuitive to what Spencer pointed out. It's a very positive song about the meter people. So thank you very much.
And we do have a payment plan for low-income individuals to apply to if they want to, pay off their tickets slowly. So, but thank you. We love hearing that because on a day-to-day, it's not always a fun job, and we do see the compliance, but like hearing it is really helpful.
We have one here and we have one on Zoom, yes? No, yes, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no
gonna
worries.
Steal your question from last time. We were both here last academic year for a meeting, and we heard about like the beginning of this project, which was super exciting. You mentioned both of the food options for buying groceries that we have here in Isla Vista are very, very expensive. As a first year, I spent about, for 3 items, tomatoes, mozzarella and balsamic, about $50 plus at the grocery store here. There's the co-op and there's the Isla Vista Market. Both are very expensive. I learned about Zipcar through your guys' meeting last time about other types of transportation. It's amazing. We've been using it this whole year in the summer. It's great. It is an additional $10 to $20, which makes up because like the other stores that you can get to in a 20-minute drive, I got like, what was it, like 20 groceries and it was $30. So it was awesome. But I was wondering if we're trying to, because it's an additional cost to get Zipcar or to do a lot of, like, the bus isn't really feasible because when you want to go to Costco, you can't carry that back on a bus. Sometimes the bus is, and there's a lot of awesome transportation methods that you guys have educated us on. Some of them are just a little bit less cost efficient. So I'm wondering if there's any work, because they're, like you said, it's just a fraction of the piece. If there's any other fractions about ways to make Isla Vista more financially reasonable without a car.
Yes, absolutely. We're really advocating for alternative modes of transportation, specifically like the Wave. Have you heard of the Wave?
Yes, I've heard of the Wave as well.
So we're trying to work to find more permanent funding for that. And then through our mobility study, where we're able to figure out where gaps are in bus service, that we're trying to advocate to fill those gaps. We really like the idea of Zipcar. I don't know too much about it, but we're trying to just figure out creative ways to incentivize people to use that type of thing. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe gift cards or something. I mean, just hearing your story was interesting to me because I've never really talked to anyone who uses that service. And so we're trying to find like more permanent, larger amounts of funding in order to improve the existing public transportation, while also educating people about what exists and showing them that it's easier than they think it is. One other thing is that we do have a bunch of co-op memberships that we've purchased for certain households, mostly along.
Anyone can get them.
Okay.
It's all households now.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I didn't know. Do you want to speak to that?
yeah, you can get a free co-op membership for your household through IVCSD. That then you can get the 15% off bulk purchasing, and they just upgraded their bulk purchasing website, so it's like easier to bulk purchase. So you can like buy with friends, your pasta jars and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so it's
I
a
will
fun
look
page of our
into that.
website. It's fun
I'm
page
so
of-
grateful, and thank you guys so much because it is making an impact, and we can all see it. Like students can see it in our day-to-day lives walking to class. I feel a little bit safer having that stuff, so I do really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys helping with the cost efficiency. That's such a big issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can say that the board did place a measure on the ballot in June for the November ballot that would raise revenue to go towards transportation improvements as well.
Thank you guys.
I would like to first say I like what you said about making it easier to live in Isla Vista without a car. That's legit for sure. I wanted to thank you for taking care of the daylighting in particular, because the walkability of Isla Vista is dear to me, and protecting pedestrians who are trying to cross the street. A couple of people have been hit by cars trying to walk across the street in a marked crosswalk right in front of my home. So thank you very much for doing that. That's it.
Thank
We
you.
need some vigilantes to put some speed.
Yeah, I thought about doing that in my neighborhood.
No more vigilantes necessary. We have just fully. Well, we have like, you talk with Public Works, so.
I'm just kidding. I meant
Yeah.
we need to collaborate with.
Right, yeah. All right, thanks, guys. Any further comments in person or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none on Zoom. can go on. I'm not cutting any board members off. Okay. We're
I,
going-
I,
Oh,
I
yes.
did, I did have one more question, which was just in terms of the next steps. So you spoke to the residential permit program, and that's a lot of feedback that I think we've gotten over the years is parking spaces should go to the people that live here first. And that's not always the case with us being campus adjacent, with commuters being a thing, people that don't want to park on campus. And so I guess I'm just wondering, what are the next steps in terms of evaluating a parking permit program, and do we have a revenue cost estimate or anything related to that?
Not at all. We're just gonna come to the board in September with what the steps would be and what concepts of a permit program would be to get temperature, and then work with our consultant to design it further from there.
And we expect that there will be costs associated with that above and beyond what we have budgeted.
There would be startup costs separate, like it would be all separate, because we need to install signs, we need to get the permits with the, however we do it, QR codes or paper permits or anything like that. So there would be startup costs for sure. And the license plate recognition, if we choose to go that way. So there's lots, we want to get your sense of how we want to do it before we design the costs.
Yeah, and there's a lot to think about, which you'll see at the September 22nd meeting, but just down to how are we distributing them? Does each household get a certain number? Oh, there's, discrepancies there. How do you give guest passes? There's so many things to think about.
So we want to get your priorities, and then we can design from there.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. We'll be looking forward to that, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of public feedback.
Yeah, and we do hope to meet with Coastal Commission before then,
Wonderful.
just to get their sense of things.
Well, look at us go, dotting all of our I's and T's with the Coastal Commission too. Alrighty. Perfect. So we can move on now to item 4.5, our reserves reports and discussion from for 25-26.
I'm gonna suggest we just not skip it, but fold that into the budget discussion, since it'll just be discussed at the end as part of it.
Fantastic. Yeah, we can open up on our budget hearing consideration of fiscal year 26-27 district budget.
Okay, let's get the share screen going.
Great presentation.
Thank you guys. I'll see you later.
My presentations don't look nearly as nice.
It's okay. They're beautiful.
In
There's
their
no
own way,
ways.
in their own way, yeah. Okay, so 26-27 budget, not huge changes from June, but we definitely made some updates to things since then. So the big summary, it's a $2.4 million budget this year. That includes utilizing $230,000 from our fund balance, and that's included in the revenue number. And we'll go into the details of that on slide 20. But yeah, this year's a $2.4 million budget, which is a big, it's an improvement in what we're able to do from previous years. So the revenue breakdown, we have our utility user tax measure R, the one from 2018. That's going to be bringing in we're predicting it'll bring in $1.68 million on the next fiscal year. We're continuing a $200,000 contribution from IVCSD. We're hoping to get reservation revenue to grow to 40,000 from 26,000 this year of the 2 spaces, and we're going to have an improved calendar system that you approved at the consent calendar to help us do that. We're going to do the 230,000 reserve withdrawal. It's partially one time, partially ongoing, and partially of the ongoing, partially assigned, partially general. We're gonna just stay at about 5,000 in sales between our move-in sale, and now we have a move-out sale and our compost sales. And our sponsorships, we're hoping to receive again $160,000 for Soultopia this year and generate, we're gonna be conservative, 30,000 in interest off of our fund balance. This year we got 50,000, but we never know what the stock market's gonna do. So we'll go for 30, and if we get more, that will just help the reserve withdrawal to be less. This is a chart of the reserve, of the revenue. So you can see the utility user tax is over 2/3 of our budget. But there's, significant, other sources do exist. And I did forget to put parking citations on this one, but they are on here, and we're predicting $120,000 on parking citations. And that's based on the amount we wrote in revenue for the spring quarter, and not considering whether or not the county raises those costs. But we did hear that the county's doing a hearing about parking, countywide parking issues in September. And so they might discuss that at that point. So expenses by department. So you can see our community programs is our biggest area of spending, almost half the budget, 40%. And then between public works and parking, that's the next biggest chunk. Our operations and administrative costs are 30%. And our safety budget is smaller than it has been historically, due to the fact that it's now the safety stations. There are a lot. We have other programs that are safety related that are just in the community programs area right now. So you can even kind of combine safety and community programs because they go hand in hand. But for example, our festival is a safety measure, and our Survivor Resources Hub is a safety measure.
So safety is just survive, or
Is the safety
CSS.
station.
Okay.
Yeah, our contracts with the UCPD. And then housing, that's growing. We're utilizing this program more and spending more on it, which is a good thing than years past. And then by type of spending, so we spend 56% on salaries and benefits and 40% on services and supplies. That's, again, I've said this before, it gives us a lot of flexibility as a government agency. A lot of government agencies are 85% on salaries, and it's hard to change salaries, and it's easier to change services and supplies. And at the end of the day, salaries are services, right? When you hear what Casey does, that's a salary spend, but it is a service to the community. So people say salaries are a bad thing, but no, it's actually the main way we deliver service to the public is through the salaries we pay people to take care of Isla Vista. Luckily, liability insurance did not grow that much this year. It was a very small bump compared to past years, so we're happy about that. Our operations budget, again, this is unchanged, $720,000 in terms of what it's for. Myself, Sydney, our district council, Jamie, who's on Zoom, our accountant, and one intern, as well as all the office costs that we need, like our Zoom account, which we're using right now, for example, and our insurance. It's all folded into this. And then this is it broken down. Our staff is the main part of it. The admin costs are 15%, and the office 5%. And the board, of course, we've been better spending our board budget in terms of being able to meet the 3 days of service per month, and that be compensated for being more active. And it's a good thing for the board to be more active. Community programs and engagement. We just are now adding the outreach coordinator, but this is the biggest area. We've got 5 staff in here, as well as our festivals, our regular programs that we have in this room in the community center every week, our marketing and engagement budget, our vending machine. A lot of our front-facing services and programs are in this budget. And here it is broken down. Community engagement is a big chunk of the community programs budget because it is a big focus for us. We've said it today that the community does turn over often, and so we have a constant effort of putting ourselves out there and making known the services that we provide. Public work and sustainability, it is broken out from parking here because we want to have parking. Oh, sorry. It's not, parking is included in here, but it is broken out separately in the budget because we want to be able to do the accounting very distinctly between the ticket revenue and the spending. But when we do combine it, because that's how we operationalize it as a department, parking is a solid chunk. But again, parking, like you heard today, plays into beautification. It's staff on the street looking at issues on the street. But beautification is half the public works budget. We don't do a lot of infrastructure because we don't own the infrastructure currently. We do have an infrastructure reserve, But that goes towards things like our bathrooms on Del Playa. And the compost budget has shrunk significantly from years past, so it's a smaller portion of this budget. Housing, this has grown. We increased the legal advice portion of the budget this year significantly, so that because people have been using that a lot. So this has been a up and coming program since it's been restructured, and we adjusted the budget because this year we went over budget, but as we said at the finance committee, that's a good thing because we know that people are getting help and using this, and now we've adjusted this year's budget to meet what the new utilization is. Last year was the first full year of the new program. Safety, this is our safety stations and our IV Safe meetings that we host. And our IV Safe meetings are, we don't control public safety in IV, but we get to influence it through those meetings. And then fund balance, this is what, we're going to talk about also as our reserves utilization. But we have decided, and our finance committee decided to recommend using $15,000 of our capital reserve for the Cliff Fall Memorial, which again is a safety measure. It's in the public works budget, but it's very much a safety measure because that is one of the common forms of fatalities in Isla Vista over the last 30 years. And so we are investing in that alongside District 2 and associated students. So this is our portion. We're putting in funds towards the community center audiovisual upgrades. Again, that's a safety measure because we're trying to have more organized and official events in the downtown area on Friday nights to bring people to a safe place on a regular basis. So we will need to upgrade the space to be better able to host those kinds of events. We have fund balances from previous years to use for the safety stations and mediation program. So those are ongoing costs that are using fund balance for, but they're also assigned fund balance that have no other purpose but to be used for these. So they'll go here. And then same with the parking budget. So the parking has a cost of $200,000. We plan to raise 120 from parking tickets, 120,000 from parking tickets. And then then we have to use 80,000 out of our parking reserves to operate the program, which we set aside for these startup days. 50,000 of it is actual parking program operations, and 30,000 is one time for our consultant contract, which is going to do things like help us set up this parking permit program, which will, hopefully then forever change the status quo on parking. And then finally, our operating deficit has come down to 25,000, which it was at 100,000 in June. So part of that was utilizing the two, number 3 and 4. And part of it was revenue getting updated based on what the year-end numbers were and making some other adjustments at the finance committee. So we brought that number down. And then the reserves, just so you know, after the budget's approved and if this whole fiscal year goes as we predict it'll go, we'll land at $1.5 million in reserves. Looks like my screen got cut off here. We would have no undesignated fund balance, and our long-term strategic reserve would be at 4 months instead of 6 months, which is we want it to be. But that's again, we're not going to be penalized for that. That's our own rule for ourselves. We're way above the state requirement for our reserve requirements. So we still have significant funds in our capital reserve left. Our insurance reserve, all of those are met. It's just our long-term strategic reserve would be 4 months instead of 6 months of utility tax revenue. And that's it. That's the budget. This is like the summary of the budget. You do have the full budget book in the, actually, let me just show you the 5-year projections, which are their own slide in here. This doesn't take into account the whole budget. This is just the part of the budget that is ongoing. So and this is only also looking at some revenue, but over 5 years, we don't have much of a deficit. Like we've discussed at the June meeting and at the finance committee, we have a partial deficit because we've added new programs into our budget that don't have dedicated revenue for them. For example, Soultopia is the driver of this negative. So you're seeing it as a zero in the main budget because we're drawing fund balance to fund different parts of our program. Same with the parking program. These are new things that are being started up. But even then, if we keep things the same over time, revenue will grow to start closing this deficit. And the board did consider a revenue measure to have dedicated funding for things like Soultopia and other things. So that is this should go away. And again, it's a choice. Like we can not have those programs if we don't feel like we want to take on this 5-year projection. But again, we decided to invest in new programs, to invest in public safety and change in Isla Vista, and that's part of it here. So that's our budget for 26-27.
Thank you.
Is the five, sorry,
What
is
is
the
that?
5-year proposed, does that include does that account for the user utility tax being passed or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just status quo. So yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't include a few things because it's like only the things that we know we can control and
Yeah,
choices
yeah.
we've made currently, which is to have Soultopia, but we don't know if the measure would pass, so we're not considering it here. So
Yeah.
this is only a status quo.
Okay.
So I had a question about that too, just on kind of the
Yeah.
projection out to 2031. So even though there's one number that's listed there in terms of what our operating deficit is this year of the $166,000, but I guess I'm also reading and just want to be clear. So not all of that is deficit in terms of a structural imbalance.
Yeah.
A lot of that is discretionary spending that's coming out of our fund balance. Is that correct?
These are things that we've chosen to invest in this year that may continue to be invested in the future, but they're not structural problems in the budget. The 25,000, which is that's our structural deficit, that can be resolved easily through minor adjustments in spending or growth in revenue. But if the expansions and services that we put into this budget, which again don't have dedicated revenue, we're pulling from fund balance to pay for. If those continue and revenue stays the same, then you have this situation.
Well, I think that's helpful because I think just to understand what of it is sort of sunk cost, ongoing revenue, and then what of it is the things that you had listed that are one-time projects, like the AV upgrades or the one-time parking program costs.
Right. It's pretty much the parking program one-time cost, the AV upgrades at Cliff Fall Memorial, and again Soultopia, which we used to have $110,000 budget for that. Now it's $300,000. We're hoping to get 160 in revenue, but that's still 140,000 that we don't have, but there's a growth there.
Well, thank you for that. And the other question I had is just about the parking program at the object level specifically. So we are still planning to not be able to fully fund the program with parking violations. This budget is making the decision to subsidize this program operationally.
It's still being subsidized from the parking reserve. The parking reserve will end up, I can bring up the reserve screen again. It'll come back, it'll end up at 127,000. It's kind of small. It's small. Let me try to zoom in. So yeah, the parking reserve at the end of 26-27 would be 127,000, but that's still conceivably about 2 more years of subsidy if nothing changes. But we know that things will change over time. We might do a residential parking permit program, which brings in revenue through the permits. And the county may change their fee schedule for parking fines countywide, which we go after the county's fee schedule. We're required to. So those are variables that we haven't considered in the budget that could change the whole picture here.
And how much are we projecting to bring in from violations themselves?
120,000.
Okay, so that really does, I think, paint the picture of, yeah, how important that county action is on the fee schedule and on the escalating fines. Because we wrote a business plan based off of what we were told was our authority to be able to set these fines, and then we've since learned from the county that that's not the case. So I guess I'm just pointing that out, and I think you know, it's something for us to continue to watch.
Are we also assuming that parking enforcement will like stay at the same rate? Because like hopefully it'll get better, right?
Yeah, we're assuming for this year the same rate.
Yeah.
We haven't projected out the program as a capsule on its own
Yeah.
in the future, but we need more data to be able to do that. So let's see how fall, because we've only done spring quarter, which is its own, you know, its own dynamics. And now we have the summer a little bit, but again, like I think we at least need the fall and the winter data
Yeah.
from this year to be able to judge where this
Especially
is
with like the
going.
new residents. And whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Complicated.
Yeah.
I don't really get this.
That's okay. Come see finance committee. We all go in
No.
detail line by line. We have a good time in finance committee.
It's like my nightmare.
Well, Jonathan does a good job of putting it together and explaining it. We have some very good discussions.
We do. We have a good time.
We're watching it for you.
Happy to hear that. Glad that's happening.
Yeah. Any other board comments?
I have one more question, which would just when we talked about this, when we did the preliminary budget, or I think it was the preliminary budget and the program review for the community spaces program. I think there were a number of requests that we weren't sure if we were going to have the money to be able to fund this year. Can you tell us what ended up getting in?
Pretty much everything. We didn't do a couple, I can pull it up exactly, but we were able to do the new staff position, the outreach coordinator, just to expand our ability to reach the community. And we didn't get to do a couple infrastructure improvements. We chose the AV as the one that was most important. There were a couple like long form videos that we wanted to do that didn't, you know, we did some, but not all.
Those plush chairs.
Yeah, the fancy chairs for this room, we said no to them because we wanted to focus on, you know, again, the AV upgrades. The kitchen upgrade is just not in the cards in terms of, you know, what the space can handle, and going through the county permit process right now for kitchens are, you know, differently regulated than doing audiovisual upgrades. And so.
And we're ramping up staff earlier for Soultopia.
Yes.
Which we thought was very important.
Yeah, we're starting that in September now. So we were able to do some of the things we wanted and said no to a couple things.
Excellent. Well, thank you to the finance committee for weighing those. I know they all had a lot of merit, so appreciate the work that you went through to vet them.
Yeah, that's a good time. Any other further? All righty, you can open up to public comment either in person or on Zoom.
Okay, I gotta say, y'all hit a home run with Soultopia this year. Fantastic. I remember 2014, we had some disturbances, and 2015, this place looked like an armed camp. I was a medic in a war zone, and this place actually was scary. It was really something. And you took that, and the leadership is really, I think, national level, as far as the model of harm reduction, complete transformation. And I guess there were like no arrests at the
zero arrests,
citations,
and the medical transport. Yeah, fantastic. Really, you deserve a big hand for that. I'm like thrilled. I didn't expect this. And there were a number of years I just stayed home, you know. Oh, okay, like just play it safe, you know, Chinese food and takeout. But it was exceptional. And so I just wanted to throw out this idea, and this might be anathema, but we brought it down from a big net revenue loss down to a very modest net revenue loss. And I was thinking that as we progress towards cityhood, depending on what, you know, the Bergson study has to say, we may be in a situation where cityhood will be within our grasp, but we're going to have a revenue deficit. We've got that $2 million thing count. So maybe Soultopia, we can take those skills and leverage those skills and what we've learned into getting some net positive revenue events, either not necessarily Halloween or Soultopia themselves, but like, you know, somebody mentioned the surf event, things of that nature. We got a little rock climbing thing at the park. Maybe we could have a rock climbing competition. And I did a little research, not a lot, but like in Napa, California, they got a very substantial net revenue. Redondo Beach has similar activities where the municipality is getting that revenue. And so some of that could be net revenue while we're on the road to cityhood. And then some of that can become like, maybe, I don't know if we get a transit occupancy tax, but you know, just other, like a bigger slice of the sales tax, I think would be available. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out, and I have no idea if I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that, because obviously the Topia is primarily for the students and it's free for the students. But, you know, if we're gonna have a bunch of people coming up from LA, one way or another, coming in, and we clean up and trash and policing, maybe there's a path that we can actually, you know, get the revenue that we need for the city. Just wanted to throw that out very quickly, and then maybe it'll come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I think just to add on to that, being on the Soultopia staff myself, I think Maya, who kind of led the event, talked about this as well too, that in the future we're gonna try to make efforts to advertising the event to outside visitors. I think at the moment though, the focus has been laid on just substituting the need that Soultopia has brought onto the community, and I think we've been doing a great job with that. The event did a great job with that too. But I think that's something to work towards in the future.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further comment on Zoom in person or from the board, can move on to our next agenda item.
Don't we want to move to approve the
We most-
budget?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we need to approve the
Excellent point.
budget.
We most certainly do.
Don't forget to do that.
The most important final step. Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Fantastic.
Enthusiastic.
I'm so enthusiastic to move forward already. Could we get, oh, it's a budget. I'll do a roll call for this.
Okay, Director Carmichael,
Yes.
Director Brandt,
Hi.
Sebos,
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
All righty.
Okay.
Okay. Nothing out of Zoom. So now move on
Good
to.
question. Am I
Oh,
allowed to interject?
Yes, we can have a bit of public comment. Sure.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I wasn't sure how it worked. I actually submitted an application and I unfortunately wasn't able to come to the in-person meeting. So here I am at the bus stop, keeping it real, hopping onto the Zoom call. So just didn't know if this was a good time to like give my name and express any thoughts that were part of the meeting or not. Just wanted to ask first.
It's not yet the time for that, but it's happening next.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So I believe we're all clear to move forward for our next item 5.1, our board vacancy interviews. Righty.
Okay, so we do have 5 people who applied for the board this year, and we do have a set of interview questions that we've used in past board vacancy interviews. And so the order, in terms of, we do the order based on the order of the applications that they came in. So Jonas Hoffman is first, then Noah Lucan, then Jeffrey Everhard, Lorraine Stoken, and then Matthew Fox. So, and we've discussed having 15 minutes per candidate, and the board can rotate asking the 6 interview questions.
Fantastic. And okay.
Well, it's very exciting to have 5 candidates.
Yeah.
You know, all the candidates are being
Also,
interested in working with us.
Who is up for re-election in November? Or how many
How many seats are up?
up in November?
So there's 3 seats up on the ballot for the board. It's 2 of the 4-year seats and the
Yeah.
2-year seat.
Yeah. Also, we can only select one person today, so very much please like run for election. No, or I don't. When do they have to declare candidates?
There's tomorrow at 5 p.m. is the deadline.
So
It's an easy process.
yeah.
Easy-ish.
Good point.
Easy-ish.
Did you do the timer?
Yeah, so remind me, are we doing just questions or opening, closing statements? Just doing.
I think you're doing just questions,
Just
and maybe if they
questions.
have time, they can do a close.
Okay, fantastic. So, as Jonathan said earlier, we're gonna start out with Jonas, and we're gonna ask questions. We have 15. We have 15 minutes per candidate for the entirety of all of the questions. Alrighty, so we can start out. I think we'll go down the line. Each board member will ask a question. Do we have any questions on the process before we get going? Okay, it's a bit of a funky process, but we can
Very
work through it. Okay, so our first candidates. Alrighty, oh, I should get like a timer or something.
We got it.
You got it? Okay, perfect. Alrighty, Jonas, you are up.
Should I
Welcome.
step up?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. Jonathan or
You
Sydney,
ask
who's
the
ever on
question.
timer. I just want to make sure you're
Yeah, we're
ready
good.
on timer. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Fantastic. So we can start on. I'll start with these questions. So as before, why would you like to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much everyone for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak today. The reason I would like to become a member of the Board of Directors is in large part because I'm a member of this community and I want to serve this community. In the past, I have contributed to community events and community service organizations. I've worked with the IVCSD before. I've been a member of the Soultopia team in creating a sustainable environment and sustainable substitute for Deltopia. And I'm the community service chair for my fraternity. I've worked with local organizations such as Gaucho Go Green, Surfrider, NMDP, or even the food bank out in Goleta, which serves Ivy residents who can't afford to go buy their groceries locally. And that's the main reason I want to become a member of the board, is because there's so many people in this community who I think are in dire need of representation. A large part of the Ivy residents are students at UCSB and SBCC who are around my age group of 15 to 22. And I fall into that demographic. I've listened to their complaints, or not complaints, but the issues that plague this community, and especially the younger generation. And I want to address these concerns. And I think the resources that the Board of Directors supplies would be a great way to address these issues and further my work to hopefully better this community for the future.
Thank you.
I've got your next question. What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a decision on the board?
Well, first and foremost, I would obviously go to beyond my capabilities to make sure that I inform myself before I seek the information outside of my fellow board members. That's where I would go. Secondly, I would hopefully be able to consult my fellow board members and seek out their information, their advice, the same way that I hope they will be able to give me their advice, and that I will be able to give them my advice if they are to need it. And that we have all got different pieces of information, different community obligations, different community associations. So I believe that there are some issues where I might be able to provide an outside perspective the same way anyone else on the board will be able to provide a perspective that I might not share. And I think that collaboration is what it would be, is the great part of being a member of the board.
And the next question is, how do you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Well, meetings is first and foremost a great way to collect the opinions of Ivy residents. I think where I would come in personally is because I am that part of the Ivy demographic who is in the 15 to 22 or 24 age group, who is a UCSB or SBCC student, and I'm a member of Greek life, which is also a significant part and society inside of the Ivy community. I have a perspective that I can share, and I get to listen to people who share their perspective or have certain concerns in the community that certain members of the board might not always have access to. And I believe addressing those needs and coming into the board where people share different perspectives and the different voices they hear day to day, I'll be able to share that outside view that maybe not everyone on the board gets access to every day.
What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
for me, success would not be measured individually in this role. It's mainly seeing the effects out in the streets of Isla Vista. If I can see that the measurements we've brought forth with the IVCSD and the board of directors affect the residents of IV positively, whether that be parking policy, budget policy, events like Soultopia, then I believe I will have successfully handled my obligations. And if I can see that, hey, what I see today in IV, I've had a part in that. I was able to be part of that conversation and the policy making and the voting to make IV better, then that would have been successful for me.
Righty, we're on to me. So will you be able to serve out the term through December 2028?
Yes.
Excellent. Your last question is kind of a multi-parter. Have you attended or watched a board meeting of the IVCSD or another elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? And if so, how would you express your stance on that issue? There's a lot of questions in this one. If you were on the board and this issue came up and it was time to vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, federal laws, and the input of staff and board members have in determining your vote?
Okay, I have attended board meetings like this on few occasions, and I voiced my concerns when it comes to parking measurements, mobility when it comes to grocery shopping, or sustainable food options in IV on a couple occasions as well. When I would be concerned or when I would be presented with these issues and when I had to come to a vote, I think that community concerns is kind of a larger guideline upon which I would act upon. If a community has a concern, then that's the main thing that I need to focus on in making my decision. And when it comes to the laws that surround that decision, whether that be state, local, federal, that would kind of set up a parameter upon which I can act upon. So I would say community is kind of what do I need to address, and the laws are how I can address that. And then obviously my fellow board members have their own unique opinions on how to tackle that issue. So I think coming together and discussing that issue, I can kind of get a better and more well-versed opinion to, at the end of the day, make my own decision that I think morally and legislatively correct.
Alrighty, so the end of our question, can I get a time check?
7 minutes.
Perfect. So in these 7 minutes, if you have anything else you'd like to say, or if any board members have questions for you, it'd be a good time. So I'll leave it for you if you have anything else, and then we'll have questions from the board.
I think I will just open the board to questions.
Yeah, wonderful. So I can start out with, so looking forward into the near future of IV, what are some goals you have for Isla Vista moving forward?
Well, I've heard this a lot of times before, and I believe I hold it for myself. So cityhood is a large goal, and I believe that IV residents should be better represented by the county at the moment. We have a lot of students here in this town who come in and out and who are plagued by unaffordability, who are plagued by not being able to afford groceries or have better transport options. And I think if we have local residents who can come into boards like this or be able to represent into a city level, then that will be the best future for people to be represented on the city level and make decisions that benefit them the most.
Thank you. Yep. Further questions from the board?
I have a logistical question for you, which is if we go through this process tonight and another candidate is chosen, are you interested in going through the separate process to file the run for office?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You stole my question, so.
You can ask it next time. I'm going to ask it to everybody.
Carrie, any questions?
Any closing statements?
Yes, I would just like to say that, first of all, I'm thankful for everyone here that you've given me the opportunity to speak and that you're so interested in making sure that people in this community are represented and have the opportunity to address what plagues them. I'd just like to say that I am a member of this community who in large part is plagued by a lot of issues in IV. I don't always know how I'm going to afford rent. I don't always know how I'm going to afford my groceries. I don't always know where I'm going to park my car or how to get anywhere. I want to be a member of the board of directors because I want to make sure that for the next generations to come, future people who are in my shoes are not plagued by these issues anymore. I'm the director of community service, not because I want to put it on my resume. I did not do Soltopia because I want to put it on my resume. I did it because I believe that in the future, Ivy can be a lot better and it can be a lot more accessible and can be a lot more inclusive to people who do not always have the opportunity to succeed here locally. So that's what I would have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. Perfect. We have a little bit of extra time on that, but that's okay. Moving on to our next candidate, we have Noah Lukin.
He's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom. Fantastic.
We've got 2 on Zoom today.
2 on Zoom. Perfect. Alrighty. So
Hey, can I get a confirmation that you guys can hear me?
yes, we can hear
Awesome.
and see you. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Alrighty, so if we are ready on the timer, we can start out our first question of why you would like to join the IVCSD board.
Yes, thank you. And before I answer that, I'd like to apologize to the board for not being able to attend the meeting in person today. I'm currently traveling for a funeral happening tomorrow morning, and I'm actually in a parking lot in Roseville, Minnesota right now that I found off the highway on the way to my hotel for the night. So please excuse this sort of haphazard setup I have going on. But to the question, thank you all for offering me the opportunity to speak to you and interview for this position. I see myself as a representative of, an advocate for, and a servant to the local community. Beginning my freshman year, I got directly involved in community-focused initiatives. I volunteered to pick up trash on Sunday mornings up and down Del Playa. I served as a floor representative in the San Miguel dorm hall. And I gave my time as a community ambassador with IVCSD in my second year to promote community service and local resources for residents. And it was from these foundational experiences that I decided the next step for me to continue my mission of serving the community was to run a campaign to become an off-campus senator with UCSB's associated students. I served in that role throughout my third year, directly representing students living in Isla Vista to the university and through responsible allocation of their student fees. On top of legislative and policy initiatives aimed at promoting the interests of students in the community, some of the most powerful work I did in that role involved advocating for students, not just to the university's administration and to the chancellor, but to this body and to the County Board of Supervisors, where I've given public comment and with whose members I've met with on several occasions to further the interests of students and the community. And recently, I was entrusted by my peers and Isla Vistans to continue this work as their Vice President of Local Affairs for Associated Students, where I have plans to build upon the changes we've already started to implement. To tie these experiences up and I guess to more directly answer the question, I would like to join the IVCSD Board of Directors to institutionally connect associated students and IVCSD, which are the 2 most impactful entities in Isla Vista in terms of their support and advocacy for residents, and to have the capacity to more effectively perform the work that I already plan to do while creating the opportunity to more fluidly connect relevant stakeholders in the community. For instance, I've already represented the interests of students in Isla Vista and directors on the, 2 directors on the board, while securing funding from associated students for the study currently being done on the economic viability of cityhood in Isla Vista. And a seat on the IVCSD board would ensure that the student voice is represented and accounted for in all decisions made that impact our beautiful community. The perspective of students, which is a largely transient population demographic in IV, is a critical component of governance as we make up the largest social group in IV. But on the flip side, a seat on the board would guarantee that long-term resident and other local voices are accounted for in associated students' decision-making, since we share this community, and I would be directly hearing from and advocating for these other social groups as a director as well. And so this linkage between AS and IVCSD is critical, in my view, for the well-being and growth of our community. And I believe that I'm the most well-situated individual to bridge the gap between these 2 public serving bodies.
Thank you.
Thank you for the answer, Noah. Second question is, what would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a decision on the board?
Thanks. Yeah, there are In my mind, there are a couple of key factors here. First of all, before the board meeting takes place, it would be crucial to identify the information that is missing or necessary to ensure that a fully formed decision is made. So, in the days before a meeting, this could involve reaching out to relevant stakeholders or authorities on the issue to ensure that such information is collected and shared among board members. And also critically, complete information, in my view, means perspectives from the residents that we represent. So reaching out to and hearing from the people of Isla Vista is a key component as well. Secondly, if we are in a meeting and a gap in information is discovered, it would be my recommendation to table the item to the next meeting if at all possible. This is something that I did often as a senator in Associated Students, since decision making, especially at the local level, relies on full and complete information and not theory or ideology. And so ultimately, if more information was needed to make a decision as director, I would seek that information and the missing perspectives, however that may look, so that in the end, decisions are made with as complete and accurate of information as possible.
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Thank you. This is an important question. I developed a lot of experience with collecting feedback from constituents, as chair of the outreach committee during my time as a senator. And so as a committee, some of the ways that we performed outreach were tabling regularly, mass distributing flyers that contained critical information. We utilized and grew the Associated Students' social media presence. And we even did little things like passing out pens and coffee sleeves that had the AS logo and QR codes linking to resources and information from the campus coffee shops, for example. And so as director, I would look to implement similar methods centered around the Isla Vista community. And I already have plans to, in my role as vice president, to table regularly in IV and utilize my staff to spread information via flyering, and to constantly employ social media as a tool for community outreach and information dissemination. And I want to emphasize again the value, as I see it, of my role as vice president for the board of directors, as it is already a highly visible role to students in Isla Vista, and my office regularly seeks and hears directly from Isla Vistans. And so a seat on the board would ensure that all of the perspectives that I hear and the feedback I receive as vice president can be directly represented to IVCSD in the board's decision making.
Thank you. What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Thank you. Yeah, success for me in this role would mean a few things. So first, I think a more direct and institutionalized relationship between IVCSD and Associated Students, who, again, I think are the most two relevant and impactful stakeholders in the Ivy community, would be the first kind of measure of success. Second, a clear understanding of and a path forward for cityhood for Isla Vista. In my mind, this is the most impactful and perhaps only way for us to ensure that community voices are the ones making decisions about the community for generations to come. And then third, and most importantly, success would look like a community with its biggest concerns being heard, advocated for, and addressed by relevant decision makers. We as Isla Vistans in this day and age are uniquely situated to do work that will literally leave a lifetime worth of impact on our community. And that is not a responsibility that I think should be taken lightly. So more broadly, I think success for a community is when the people of that community are well off and they have their concerns addressed. And that is my most primary mission as a public servant that I intend to keep at the forefront of my mind, regardless of the title or position I hold. I believe that to do that most effectively, a real sense of community has to be fostered, and then an emphasis on the cultural elements of Isla Vista that make us special should be emphasized for the ways in which they unite us and can drive us towards positive change.
All right, thank you. So will you serve out the term through December 2028?
Yes, that is my intent.
Have you attended or watched a board meeting of the IVCSD or another elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? And how would you express your stance on that issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast a vote on that issue, what role would community concerns, state and local and federal laws, the input of staff and board members, and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, I have attended IVCSD board meetings, County Board of Supervisors meetings, and I've given public comment to and interfaced with the officials of both of these bodies. And additionally, I've been at the table making decisions in the Associated Student Senate meetings. And so there have been many issues raised that I felt strongly about, but I think none more intensely than those relating to autonomous decision making for Isla Vista. I think, in particular, the debate at the IVCSD meeting and later the County Board of Supervisors meeting, in which the issue of the sweeping noise ordinance over Deltopia weekend was being discussed. That was a really intense one for me. And my stance on that was always clear. No decision about a community should be made without the direct input and voice of that community being reflected in the decision. And so, unfortunately, due to the institutions that represent us, we make up the minority of the constituency of only one of the 5 county board of county supervisors. And so this meant that 4 of the 5 officials voting on that noise ordinance that directly and severely impacted our community, for better or for worse, had no vested interest in our voices or perspectives. And so that, I think, is largely representative of how I have and will continue to express my stance on issues, which is by remaining principled and pushing to ensure that community voices are making decisions about the community. And when it comes time for me to cast my vote as a director, it is through this lens of principle that I will decide how to vote. So first and foremost are the community voices being reflected in my decision. Second is all of the other information available that should be accounted for to ensure that the policy or initiative is sound, aside from the community sentiment. And then, least importantly, are my own values and beliefs, because as a public servant, I believe that in my role, my values and beliefs should be informed by the information and data available alongside the views of those that I represent.
Thank you. Could I get a check on time?
Like 3 minutes.
All right, so with about 3 minutes left, can give you any closing statement or any other comments you'd like to make, and then I'll open it up for any questions from the board.
I don't have a closing statement. I appreciate you guys, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, fantastic. Spencer?
I'll ask the question that I'm going to ask to everyone, which is, if the board decides to appoint another one of the applicants to the vacancy tonight, are you interested in pursuing the separate pathway to run for office this November?
Definitely interested. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I'll let you steal the question.
Oh, yeah. And then what are your goals for being on the board if you were elected?
Yeah, so kind of just re-emphasizing some of the things I touched on earlier. So one is just bridging the institutional divide between associated students and IVCSD as two of the more important stakeholders in the community. And then secondly, continuing to push for just more community-focused decision-making, whether that's in the form of a city government or otherwise. I really want to create structures whereby community voices drive decision makings about the community, and not outside influence or ideas.
Thank you. Alrighty. I think 15 minutes seems to be good on time. So if we have no other comments or questions from the board, we can move on to our next candidate. But thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Alrighty. So who is next up? We have Jeffrey Everhard up next.
Hi.
Hello.
He, him. yo hablo español. Estudio mucho, entiendo poco. I studied a lot, but I don't understand as much as I like. The first question, why do I?
Oh, yes.
And,
Sorry, I
I'm
was.
going to tell you why I think I'm most qualified. I'm going to actually tell you
Yeah.
why I want to be on the board.
Yes, why you would like to join the board.
So I've always personally derived great satisfaction from helping others and using my privilege to help people who are in distress. And I had the great pleasure of knowing Father John Hedges, and I sat on the South Coast Homeless Advisory Committee with him. I was appointed by motion by Grant House, Santa Barbara City Council, under the County Board for the Homeless. And this man was such an inspiration because he really brought compassion into the Sheriff's Department in a way that no one else could, and probably very few, if any, other Sheriff's Departments had. And he was on this board, of course, as you all know, on the first. And he was great inspiration, as you know, he passed away. I also had the great pleasure of knowing Michael B. And he was a wonderful, wonderful guy from the Midwest. Went around on his bicycle, picking up trash and just helping people. And he wrote up a 15-page, his personal master plan for Isla Vista and the parks. And he showed it to me and explained it all to me. It's such an inspiration. He's such a nice guy. And I remember the night before he died, I believe he died of COVID, February 2020, and we lost a great leader. So these are two great leaders that we've lost. I would bring institutional memory. I'm not here because I'm saying that the long-term residents are underrepresented and I will represent the long-term residents, okay? That's possibly some merit to that. But realistically, most of the people who live here are in the 18 to 25-year-old demographic, 75%. And so the reason that I want to be on this board and feel I would be good for this board is because I'm bringing that institutional memory. From the very beginning, I went to these very tedious meetings to organize the CSD. When Darcel Elliott just put an hour after hour, and of course Spencer and Jonathan were there, and remember, and Jay and Father John and Natalie, and these were really grueling meetings. And what came out of it was fantastic. And the first inauguration, and Ethan Bertrand, who has gone on and done great things. You know, I was there, and at the time, I kind of stepped back a little, but I remember it all. And I remember 2014 when we had the disturbances, and 2015 during Deltopia, there were cops from LA, I believe from LA, San Luis, Ventura, mounted on horseback. They were wearing fatigues and helmets, and they had LLMs. And, I mean, it was an armed camp. There were hundreds and hundreds. And one thing that Jay in particular, but all of them talked about was getting control over supervision over law enforcement. Law enforcement is absolutely essential. There's too many assaults, and there has to be a role for bringing restorative justice to the perps. In the original organizing of the CSD, there was almost this like panic because law enforcement was coming down so hard. And this was just as they brought in the surveillance cameras, which is a big issue now because of the flock cameras. And God only knows what's going to happen after 2028 when ICE gets fully funded. So these issues will come back with a vengeance, even though right now they're kind of in nascent. But in the original foundation of the CSD, this was a big concern. So this basically is why I feel impelled to come on to this board and for the appointment process, because the electoral process is kind of difficult for someone like myself to get, because I don't have access to the there's like a proprietary version of TikTok that only students are allowed on UCSB. I won't have access to that. And the social networks on campus. So for better or for worse, and I was advised by people who are in the know, it'd be very difficult for a permanent resident who's not in the student demographic to get elected. So I see the appointment process as a rare opportunity for myself. I called the Board of Elections today. You and Noah are hard acts to follow. And I urge you guys to go up there and fill out the papers. I don't know that I would do that. I might consider it, but probably not. So anyway, that is why I want to be on the board in answer to your question, Madam President.
Thank you.
The next question is, what would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a decision as a board member?
Okay, that's an easy one. So it would depend on the type of question. If it had to do with law, then obviously I would use Justicia.com or something, or go on LexisNexis, which could be made available, and research the legalities. And obviously it'll all be in a framework with AB3 and our obligations under Measure R, Measure E, and Measure F, and then the upcoming utility tax bill. If it had to do with legalities, obviously I would have us refer to counsel. If it was that type of question. If it was more of an operational question, I would resort to Jonathan and the very capable staff, either get a formal staff report or just, ask them an informally question and answer. Also look at other jurisdictions and see, what they have done for that type of problem. Basically just very basic research. But it wouldn't just be a matter of just talking to the board, talking to ourselves. We'd have to go out and do research. And then this kind of segues into one of the other questions about community feedback. The community feedback would actually be critical for this question. And for that, if I may leap forward and on a little bit, for the community feedback, we have a model that we did with the lighting. And I think it was 100 surveys, and then the canvassing, obviously. And so, yeah, getting additional information to solve problems is fairly straightforward. And I think all the candidates, all of us who have higher education under our belt have, skills in that regard.
You kind of already answered this, but how would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community?
Okay, well, there's still a lot there, and that's critical. Honestly, a big part of it would just be over the back fence, neighbor to neighbor. And I have a secret power. I have the most beautiful dog you've ever laid eyes on. And everywhere I go in Isla Vista, everybody wants to pet my dog. And that kind of opens up the conversation. I'm really blessed because I'm able to really kind of break the ice and get to know a lot of people, one way or another, meet a lot of folks. And my dog did pass away, but I have a new one, and so I got a lot of conversations going that way. And I'm a little bit of a string musician. I play guitar and violin, so I meet people that way. And really, a very basic part is just being in the community as what you are. If you're a dog owner or a musician, and I'm very blessed because I get to know the young people and students because I have the musicianship and because I have the dogs. And I was actually involved in campus in the role as a legal observer. So I had that kind of connection. So I got to know a lot of students on campus. And then for one summer, we had a lot of meetings going on in the park, and doing mutual aid, helping the homeless, doing coffee, distributing. And then also I do a little bit of personal outreach to the homeless. I'm no longer, the South Coast Homeless Advisory Board that I was on is now merged, my term limited anyway. But I do outreach to the homeless with some other friends, and I do Food Not Bombs. And there we meet a lot of the people, especially the vulnerables. On a rainy day, I'll bring tarps and whatnot over to the homeless. And then, gathering feedback from the community is very important. So it would depend. Some of it's just the informal, being a part of the community, being in the fabric, as I have been going actually way back. My first contact with IVCSD, this was actually in 2002, where people from TP Village I met with at the Homeless Summit in Santa Cruz, and I met some of the people that are active here. And then I moved to the county in 2003, and I was, of course, hanging out in Isla Vista before I actually formally leased an apartment in 2014. So I'm a permanent resident. I have a life estate in the real property. So kind of long-winded, but so there would be the formal mechanisms, getting the staff, that we've done. And then, but I think the real heart of it is your informal connections. And I do have an advantage over the other people in the so-called permanent resident base, because I do have more of an integral connection with students than 99% of the people in my demographic. So I'm blessed in that respect.
What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Okay, so that was a little because it was me personal feeling of personal success or success of the board. So I guess I'll have to answer both ends, belts and suspenders. But I really feel one thing that would be success is if we can get a more clear message of openness and friendliness and welcoming to LGBTQIA, BIPOC, and people who are differently able or identify as disabled. And obviously I'm a presenting white male, presenting individual, but I was very involved when I went back to New York, where I went to CUNY and graduated in history. I was very active in ACT UP New York, which is predominantly LGBTQIA folks, and there's some IVDU people also who were people with AIDS. And it was absolutely rigorous intersectional, like great training as far as developing that openness and recognition of my own privilege. So one thing I would like to see a year from now on the board, we had Ethan Bertrand, who's a person of color and also openly LGBTQIA. I am openly identified with the LGBTQIA community, full stop. But I'm Caucasian male. And so fortunately we have good representation of women on this board. So I don't know exactly how to do it, but there has to be mechanisms that we can create so we can get beyond that. And I mean, not to become ideological about it, but it is a reality and something we need to do. The other issue too is it's very difficult for people who have documentation issues, to be involved in this process. And again, I'm lucky. I've traveled throughout Mexico and Central America after a little bit of medic training, and I've had close personal relationships with undocumented families. And fortunately, the kids got to go to college. So I'd like to see in success if we can explore that more, and also people. Some people prefer just really say disabled. Other people would say people with disabilities. So we can get more and actually be an example, be like a city on a hill, because this is part of what's so great, as I put in my letter of interest, that we can do things at Isla Vista, and we are doing things at Isla Vista that really hardly anyone else is able to do. And so that would be a big part of it for me.
Thank you.
1 minute.
Oh, all right. So a 1 minute warning, a minute and a half warning on time. Last question, or second last question. Will you serve out the term through December of 28?
Have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or another?
Here for the inaugural,
Yes.
as I mentioned. I've also watched a few on Zoom, including the finance committee. I used to go to the board of supervisors very frequently. My stage name is Jeff Bard in California Lab, so I'm on the board videos frequently, like the meningitis B. I was a big loudmouth about getting that vaccine here at UCSB. And but that first board meeting, what inspired me is the cityhood and oversight over landlords and tenants issues and police, and the noise ordinance ones I watched. And what I would do is, it would be the next question. I won't have time, but con law was my favorite law school. I'm a big advocate in one of my books. I have 3 chapters on musicians as constitutionally protected activity, and how I would address that issue in part is I would seriously consider a 42 U.S.C. 1983 lawsuit against the county because of the noise ordinance, because that is a violation of free speech and freedom of assembly.
Great. Right on time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so since we are right on time, I will say thank you very much, and we can move on to our next candidate, Lorraine Listokin.
She's still
No, she is not.
Okay.
Let me see if she texted me.
Yeah.
She said did not text me.
Okay. We can do a bit of musical chairs and go to Matthew Fox and see if Lorraine comes on.
I'll text her, see if she's.
Okay. So maybe just 5
Hello,
minutes stretch.
everyone.
Hello.
I'm Matthew Fox. Thank you
Fantastic.
for the opportunity.
Yes, so we can start off with why would you like to join the board of directors?
Why would I like to join the board of directors? Well, you may have heard the community itself had tried to organize some events in the past that rhymed with utopia and were subsequently banned by the county. And I thought that was very ironic because a utopia is like a strong community with a government that serves the people there. We have the community part, but the representation has been bothering me for like 20 years. I've been grumbling and griping, but not doing anything about it because back then it was just the park service and they don't really have that much power. This is a huge upgrade. I'd love to see cityhood, but I've been reading about what's been going on with this program for years and I like what I see. And there was a news story from my hometown, Berkeley, a couple of years ago. They did away with single family zoning completely. There's no more neighborhoods with single family zoning. At first, I was against it. I could see inconveniences for my folks that still live there. And over a couple of days of mulling it over and thinking about the commuters who spend so much time on the road to come work there, I realized that I was wrong and my friend's brother who spearheaded it was right, and it felt good to be moted like that. And so my selfish reason is I enjoy having deep thoughts. And my generous reason is what was deep about that was that they were serving not even I mean, I think it helps some people who live there already, but they're really doing a decision for people who aren't there yet and will move in when the apartment buildings get built. And I thought that that was really honorable. And it inspired finally in my 40s now a feeling to finally like get up and do something similar. It actually kind of reminded me of all the keep it local stuff. And I went, they're not talking about keeping it local. Who first said keep it local? Was that the county again? Because is that part of this pattern that's been unfolding of, I don't know, but I like the idea of doing it for the voices of the community, first of all, but also even of who will be the community someday. That's my reason why I would like to be part of this.
Thank you.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a decision as a board member?
So there's different interpretations of this question. When I first heard it, I imagined looking at like a line item on a budget that just says 20,000 for entertainment and going, just one word, entertainment, I want more details. I would address, I think I'm supposed to, in this type of situation, address the general manager and ask him to interface with the appropriate staff member. Otherwise, general research, I know how to do that. I certainly think that talking to other board members, talking to community members, exercising critical thinking on my own, it all would play. Is that a correct interpretation that we're talking about, like reviewing the budget type stuff? Okay, so that's pretty simple.
How do you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community?
Well, I like that there's these meetings. I would make my email available. I spent like 10 years canvassing for solar companies. I think canvassing is pretty fun if you have a reason to do it. Somebody mentioned tabling. That could be cool too. I'm sure other ideas would come to me. I like the QR code on a coffee sleeve. Good one. Oh, and also just reaching out to groups like AS. And I know that there's an official Isla Vista community organization, and they have no power but to advise governments. Reach out to them, other groups, Surfrider, Environmental Affairs Board. Like I said, I'm sure other ideas would come to me.
Thank you. What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? What, in your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
So I think it was in the website for the Community Services District announcing this vacancy where I saw something about wanting to preserve Isla Vista. And change is natural, change happens. You'd actually be like making a change to try to stop change. And that's sort of how I see it, is like doing things. I would like to see some things get done, even if it's just to expand existing stuff. More lighting, keep on decorating those crosswalks. Or, and I don't know, I think probably some of these would not be feasible, but the pedestrian safety stuff from Deltopia, where DP has no vehicular traffic, that should happen more often. Maybe every Friday and Saturday. I don't know if the Community Service District has the power to paint crosswalks that need it. How about a surfing competition or a cycling race, a parade? I know that Santa Barbara has fun with the summer solstice and fiesta. Maybe we could get in on that. Oh, somebody in the paper, it was a business owner, said something about making the streets one way and putting diagonal parking to increase parking. That's not my priority, but I do really want to preserve the walkability and cyclability of Isla Vista by making some kind of changes to stop dangerous drivers. And I was just last night imagining, what if there were like a section of diagonal on one side and then a section of diagonal and then alternating, and drivers had to snake down the street instead of flooring it and zooming in their muscle cars. So stuff like that. I love to see things happen to preserve, keep the vibes going, keep it fun here, keep it safe, especially for pedestrians and cyclists, by making changes to keep it the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. So will you serve out the term through December of 2028?
Yes. Yes. From over here, it definitely looks like a resounding yes, because I say so, and from this side, the future is unknown. I know what my intention is, and God willing, I will be here through that and beyond.
Yeah.
And yes, I would be interested in going through the process, even though it might not get voted in. It can't be that harmful.
Thank you.
I have the last question, which is, have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or another elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on that issue? And if you were on the board and this issue came up, and it was time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state and local and federal laws, and the input of staff and board members play into determining your vote?
Okay, so the first part, I've been to Coastal Commission and Park Service, IV Park Service meetings. A Coastal Commission one that stands out in my memory was they wanted to develop the Naples property on Gaviota Coast where there were endangered species. I don't think I spoke. I just held a white-tailed kite puppet up on a stick in the back. They did not approve that development. If that, yeah, I'm in favor of environmental stuff, but I also feel like it's almost impossible for me to not listen to words that are spoken to me. And it's almost like I have blinders on and can only see the point that's being made in that moment. And then afterward, I can consider it with my own mind again. But yeah, I am vulnerable to being influenced because I can't close my ears and not hear other people's thoughts and opinions. And it's not like I'm gullible or will just take on everybody else's opinion, but I definitely would be affected by it and it would become part of the decision.
Thank you. Righty, we get a time check.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
All right, in 4 minutes. To see if you have any other comments to make, and then we'll take some board questions.
The one thing I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about parking and making Isla Vista easier to live without a car, here's another idea. I've been in other communities where there were signs about ride sharing. I haven't seen that here. I don't know how, I've never used it, but it seemed like something toward that. I really liked what the Pardall Carnival. It probably was expensive. I wonder if there's a way to do like a low-key, toned down version more often. As you can see, I'm into shutting down streets against cars, making it for pedestrians. I do like the surge of bikes that comes out of campus on Pardall. And so I'm definitely against shutting it down during the week when classes get out, but on the weekend, I don't see anything against it.
Thank you. Yeah, if we can get some questions from board members.
I think I got my answer.
Yeah. All right, we can swap questions. So what are your goals for IV moving forward?
Well, as I've said, the walkability and bikeability is dear to me. I'd like to see that continue, not encourage crazy driving. Housing, making sure that landlords aren't slumlords. Oh, another idea, window to the sea park. What if it had like an acrylic clear window built into the fence so that you could go back to enjoying the island view in Isla Vista, even when you don't live on Oceanside DP because you can't afford a bedroom or don't want to live in a hallway.
All righty, thank you so much.
And we haven't, I texted Lorraine and I didn't hear back from her. She's not back on Zoom.
Okay. Well, seeing as we have not heard from Lorraine yet, we can move along in our appointment process. Okay. So now comes for everyone's favorite part, the consideration and appointment to fill the director vacancy, where the board considers a candidates for appointment, and it all happens publicly. So it's certainly not the most unawkward time, but alrighty. So we're all familiar with the policy. I'm sorry,
Did we change this?
no, no. Should be the same as the last process. Alrighty, friends. Let's start with discussion. Yeah.
Well, I just want to start off by saying a big thank you to everyone that applied. I think it's clear we have embarrassment of riches. You all represent different parts of the community. You all are very passionate about Isla Vista, and it makes me excited and happy that there's so many other people in our community that feel the same way I do about wanting Isla Vista to be better, wanting to preserve the amazing things about the community and make it a great place to live. And I just really appreciate the passion that's been expressed. And I wanted to reiterate what you just said, which is that this is a weird process for us because normally when we do job interviews, it's like you're trying to choose someone that you're going to be managing or that you're going to be hiring. And this is different because we're picking someone that's going to be our equal, going to be a colleague. And we also get to do all of the deliberation in public. And so you're going to get to hear all of what we think about you. I just wanted to say that at the outset, just as a thank you to everyone for applying and interviewing. Really appreciate it.
It also makes me really happy that all of you can serve until 2028 because me and Catherine have had to go through this experience and it's not fun. And I also don't think it's that representative of like our actual community members and constituents who should be voting for it. No shade for whoever gets elected because we also got elected through this process, but very big plus from all of you that you can serve until 2028. So yeah, shout out.
We'll have to go through the appointment process again.
Yeah, a bit hypocritical, but
Alrighty. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to echo Spencer before we get into the kind of awkward debate parts. Thank you all and on Zoom for being here and for showing such a passion for your community. And even though, we're going to appoint one person, so there'll be a couple people who haven't been, we encourage you to please stay connected with the CSD and with the community, because even, as engaged community members, you're such assets to this community, and we are excited to continue to work with you for your passions for this town. So, don't let this be the end. All right, well, with that, we can start out with our board deliberations. Any thoughts from?
I'm happy to kick it off. Yeah. I'm just going to talk about my takeaways from each of the candidates. Mm-hmm. So in order. So I really appreciate that Jonas has experience in Greek life. I think that it's an important community that is a very well organized community, and so having a board member with that background that can be sort of like a bridge there, I can see as a real asset. In looking at Noah, I think it's kind of the same thing that speaks for itself, even with more volumes when it comes to the connectedness with associated students. And just in case if people didn't believe what he stated about just the importance of associated students, their budget is about 4 or 5 times the size of ours. And so every dollar that they spend in Isla Vista is major, and it's amplifying impact. And aside from that is its own sort of democratic structure that runs parallel to what we do here. And so I think really the asset of someone like Noah is self-evident, that it really helps make the relationship between ourselves and the associate students that much more stronger, which to me is really important. Thinking about Jeff, I really think the strength with Jeff is the institutional memory, and just someone that has been around in the community in many different facets. I really appreciated the comments about being a long-term resident that doesn't necessarily feel at odds with students. I resonate with that as a long-term resident, where I feel like students are a part of our community, and I think that's a really important perspective. And with Matthew, I think really the passion for the community, and really the experience that you spoke about hearing about something that was happening in Berkeley and having one opinion, and then doing more research and talking to more people, changing your mind and going through that and saying, I want to try to have that experience and do that in public office, I think is super admirable, and I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I believe in the way that our process works. What we're supposed to do is we're all supposed to start with the name of the person that is our top person. And then we go through, we see if we have consensus. If we don't have consensus, then we go through that voting process where someone gets eliminated. Am I simplifying it too much?
I think it's like you separated it too much. Like you just do each round who you want. And then if you all agree to the same person in the first round, they get it. But if you have different people in this first round, then someone's eliminated and then you pick again.
Okay.
So the list of candidates is the 5 if you agree to that. Or you can remove Lorraine for not having interviewed. It's up to you. But that's the first step, is to make a canonical list that you want to use. So we have the 5, or you can make it 4. And then each round you'll vote for the nominee you want. So you'd each say the name of the person that you'd like. And then again, if somebody has the majority at that point, or has the unanimous vote, you can just make a motion to ratify that. If no one does, then the person with the least votes or with 0 votes is removed, and then you vote again.
Okay, and that's extra helpful today because we're at 4. So we need to have consensus on the final vote.
So we're, because it's 4 of us. But also, speaking of 4, would we be okay with shifting our candidate list from 5 applicants to the 4 interviewees?
Yeah, I think so.
So your options are Jonas, Noah, Jeffrey, and Matthew.
Alrighty.
So then with that in mind, just in terms of saying that this is not a part of the process, or I guess I will get into that. What I will say instead is, in terms of who my number 1 is at this point that I would vote for, I think that Noah Lucan would be my number 1.
So are we starting the rounds now with that? Are you kicking that off?
I'm just throwing it out there where I'm at. I want to hear.
We can have all of our comments.
Yeah. Let's do comments.
Yeah.
Time check.
Okay, other comments. Okay. So I was also impressed with Jonas and his Greek life background. I noted that he doesn't graduate until 2029, so I thought that that would be a helpful indicator that he would actually be able to fill out this whole term. And then, of course, Maya's recommendation means a lot to me because I think very highly of Maya. So I had very good feelings about Jonas. Noah also, I've heard him in action testifying in different locations, and so I know that he's articulate and passionate, and obviously AS is a very important partner for us, so I like that. Even though he intends to serve the whole term, the fact that he's graduating next June made me feel like it was probable that he would not be able to do that, so that concerned me a little bit. Jeff, I like that he's Spanish speaking, which is something that we're a little deficient in around here. And I also liked that he is such a longstanding member of the community and obviously has a lot of various connections in the community. It seemed clear to me that he would be able to serve through 2028. And as somebody who has watched dog owners in action, I do have to say that I think they got some magic in terms of connecting with the community. So I liked all that stuff about Jeff. And then Matthew, I kind of felt was like a philosopher poet, that just with a lot of ideas. And I enjoyed hearing about all of his ideas. I did think that he would be able to serve through 2028, which is important to me. But given all that, I think my first choice is Jeff.
I can go next. Okay. For Jonas, sorry. I thought it was really valuable that you've already worked as a Soultopia lead, especially because that was such a new and experimental role, and that Maya had a very outstanding recommendation of you, which was very, very kind. I like that you had already contributed to like past surveys, because I feel like that is a really necessary resource for us, and so you understand how that process is, and I feel like sometimes we have a hard time getting people to respond to surveys. So I thought that was really cool. I like that you were really passionate, and that really makes me happy and is very, very important. And I also noted that Greek life was an important factor because I think none of us have, like, from my understanding, have ever like worked in Greek life, and it is a very big part of like the campus community and the off-campus community because all the houses are in IB. So, yay. For Noah, I noted that he had a very long-term, like, I wouldn't call it a career, but career like volunteering and working for IB, which I think is very, very valuable. I also think that it's very, very necessary to have an AS resource just because that is a gap that we've been like trying to solve for a while. And I think he has been a very passionate advocate for IB and for the CSD, and like going, and he's been to these meetings, we've all seen him at these meetings, and I've seen him at the county meetings, which is important because that's a more hard thing to like step your foot in. And I said that he had a very good governmental understanding, which I also put for Jeff, just because I think when I was stepping into this role, I've constantly struggled with just like not understanding how processes work. And I think that's very, very important when like serving on this board. And I feel like that's a way that I've lacked in. And so I feel like both of them would make up for that very well, which very good. For Jeffrey, I really liked what you said about institutional memory. I think for me, like I'm studying anthropology, like preserving culture is like my favorite thing in the entire world. And I think what you said about like Isla Vista culture and like especially you were talking about music for a really long time, which that is like my favorite part about IB. I love walking around, I love hearing music, and like also having a dog, like yeah, that is a very good way to connect with the community. I also noted that like because you aren't going through the electoral process, it makes you, to me, like a more valuable candidate to vote for now, just because I think you also have a very good governmental understanding. And I really liked what you said about wanting to create more of a connection to the LGBTQ, BIPOC, and like disabled communities, because I think that is something that we just like have not really thought about. And so I really valued that you said that. And then Matthew, I saw you were a canvasser, shout out. I also did that. That is not fun to do, and it's really hard. And you've learned very, very good skills from that. So I really appreciated that. I also loved what you said about like preserving and adapting culture in IB, because I think that's something that we are constantly experiencing, especially like in the last 3 years that I've lived here. So really liked that you said that. And I really liked your ideas too. I liked like your ride sharing idea and like the like bike like ride and like surf competition like ideas. I think that's really cool. But I'm gonna put Jeff as my number one.
Alrighty. So that leaves me for last. So I think we're very spoiled this round where we've had a lot of wonderful candidates. So I think I guess to try to narrow this down a little bit, I'll chat a little bit more about my top two and a little bit about why. And it's more so for my top two is less so of a kind of a personal or personality decision, and more so of what kind of progress is the district looking to make forward in the next couple years, and what kind of connections we could make with that. So for those reasons, my top two would be Jonas and Noah for your Greek connection. I'm a grad student now, and I was a student in undergrad, but I was never really connected with Greek life, and none of my friends are really connected with Greek life. So it isn't, a very big area of our community that's kind of just been a little bit more of a blind side for me, but that's really important, especially as we move forward with our more robust like community-based safety practices, getting all of Greek life and, like Greek and friends, because it's not just sorority or fraternity members who are going to parties, it's roommates and friends and all of that. So, Greek and the rest of the Aegean Sea. Getting that connected. And then also Noah, because of your connection with associated students, that's really valuable. I mean, I would echo that you have a career of public service, and I think you're like 22 because you're a senior in college, but you have a career of public service. And also, your connection with associated students. I have seen you on the ground advocating for IV within this past year. And I've also seen how instrumental associated students is for our community and for everything that we do. And so I think that having those formal partnerships between associated students and CSD, and also with, more of the Greek life and the kind of social student body would be really beneficial for the CSD moving forward. I might just have to pick a top one or.
Wait, what?
Okay, I did say my top two, but everyone said a top one. I would say Noah for my top choice for his associated students connections, and I think also his really deep knowledge of this community of governance and kind of community service and volunteerism. Mm-hmm. And also, I think you are fluent in Spanish, Noah? He is fluent in Spanish. Okay. They both are fluent in Spanish.
All right. Okay. Well served.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you do the voting rounds. So you each say the name of who you want.
Okay.
So we all just that.
You said it in discussion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now we have to do it like for formal
maybe
materials.
someone's comments change your mind.
Okay.
Should we do ranking or should we do?
No,
Okay.
the
Just top
policy says just say the name of who you
Okay.
want.
Okay, I'll start out with Noah.
Noah Lucan.
I said Jeff.
Okay, so now
Okay.
Matthew and Jonas are removed and you have down to two people. So
Mhm.
now you have to choose between two.
Okay.
Okay, and we are tied
Tied.
with the two as
Well,
well.
you're not tied. Each round is a
Oh,
new
you're right.
vote.
So we have, no, just
So-
kidding. It's all anew. It's
That's
all
what it
anew.
says in the policy. It's like each round is separate from prior rounds, so you can change.
Okay, we are all anew. Well.
Well, can I just add one thing? I want to respond to one thing that you said, that I know you didn't mean to be offensive, but I took a little bit of offense to it because I too had people tell me that I was not going to be able to serve out my term because I was going to graduate. And 10 years later, here we are. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that not everyone will be in a position like that, but I do think that there's something to be said for people that have a record in public service.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and maybe you can
that's
get,
my polite nudge to you.
yeah, maybe we can get them to another plug for people who graduate from UCSB and they decide to stay in IB as I did the same. So, we can convince
Well,
Noah
I
to
did the
become a
same
long-term.
too, so.
That's true. So did you. So you can become a long-term residents. They're made every day. Yeah.
And so I wonder too, now that we're down to two, in a way, we're appointing one seat tonight. But as we talked about during the board discussion too, there's this parallel process where folks can run. And if you'll allow me, I want to open up just a question to a candidate.
Sure,
Again,
yeah.
One of the questions that we didn't get answered, because you got a lot to say, was, are you interested in pursuing running for IVCSD this November?
Oh, well, as I mentioned, I was advised that because of the higher access to communication mediums that are student only, and just generally the demographics, that would be kind of really against a very strong headwind. And I was just advised that it's not realistic to anticipate to be successful in such an election.
Oh, I see.
Which is why when I see the appointment vacancy process as an opportunity to perhaps get more balance on the board, as well as bring in the institutional memory aspect. And then certainly there are going to be some very strong candidates running that will probably be at the Board of Elections tomorrow.
Understood. Okay.
So,
and just to clarify, are you running for any other offices in Isla Vista this November?
yes, I threw my hat in the ring for Parks District.
Got it. Okay.
Can you be on?
But Parks, yeah, you can.
They're incompatible offices
Okay.
potentially. And if incompatible offices, when you take the new office, you forfeit the one you have
Oh, so
incompatible.
by law.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you cannot be on both.
I mean, that's the legal opinion you need to get, but it's
But according to our best legal opinion.
Have
thus
we ever
far.
had two people on?
no.
Okay. Oh.
well, Ethan was on, but maybe,
He wasn't on the same time.
yeah,
At
not at the same time.
Okay,
Concurrent.
that's interesting. Is it bad to ask, like,
I mean, you can ask your attorney on Jamie, on how it works, but the law says if there's a chance the two positions could make a decision that come in conflict, that's an
Yeah.
Yeah,
incompatible
maybe
office.
Jamie,
Yeah.
because I know that this maybe opens up a can of worms, but
Yeah.
can you just explain to us like what is an incompatible office and what does that mean?
If you want to give me a second to check the board policy, if I remember correctly, it might be in there.
wait, I also have some other questions.
We don't have it in our board policy. It's
Oh.
only in the law for us.
Are you
And
sure?
there was,
Are you sure, Jonathan?
yes, but we can check it, but yes. We can take a recess to check. I can call you.
I also have
Okay.
some other questions that we can go through.
Well,
while-
it's up to you, or I can research as you guys are going on with this process.
Yeah.
May I? If I'm appointed, I will withdraw from Parks.
That's okay. That actually changes a lot of things though, because we have had a very interesting relationship with IVRPD, I would say. And having someone who has worked with the board or with the district for a really long time, and one upholds the values of Isla Vista, like could be very, I mean, obviously we don't know how, like, we don't know who's running for the IVRPD election, but I would assume that they might not have, or they probably, I don't know what their slate looks like. Does anyone?
Yeah, I think it might be public on the county elections page by now, since I believe we're past.
The IVRPD one?
I believe so, for the entire
Yeah.
county should be on there because we're past the initial filing deadline. So all candidates for public office in the whole county should be available on the
Election board, elections office?
Central County elections. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I didn't ask the question to get into the politics of it.
Oh, yeah.
I asked the question for logistical reasons because I want to make sure that we understand what our options are in terms of incompatibility in the question, because what I wouldn't want to get into the situation of is we get a great person on the board who can only serve for a couple months. So that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Can I also go? I don't know if anyone knows this, but what is like, would realistically, if the deadline for our position is tomorrow, do they have enough time?
Yeah.
Like,
It's just
but
paperwork.
like Noah's not here. Does he have to do it in person or can it be done online?
I believe you can have
Someone do it for him?
Yeah, I'm not sure all of the fine details in there, but bringing it back to your point with the logistics, just because we have had quite a few appointments, I don't want to have someone on the board for only just a little bit of time. We have to have another one of these. Yeah.
Right, that's why.
Yeah, but you
I
would
brought in the
choose this
resignation
one.
of
Yeah.
That process, because I just, because I was here at the inception of this and had the bonding with Father John and Jay and everyone.
Yeah.
They don't have a list of candidate filing?
Yeah, so with that as well, if we have any other questions, trying to organize my thoughts a little bit. Sorry if you have any other.
I don't. I was just gonna say if I mean, to me it seems like we just need to get the legal opinion. So maybe if we want to recess.
You might need to recess.
Okay.
Okay.
So that Jonathan can make a phone call.
Yeah. Okay.
And just for the public to understand, because it's an awkward situation, our legal counsel has to have privileged conversations, so we can't go through everything. But no.
Just I think Jonathan will jump on a phone call. Thanks for tagging
so
along.
are we in recess?
If you want to put in recess, yeah, we should. You want to call the recess?
Yes, we can call this meeting into a 5-minute recess.
That should be fine. I have it. I have it.
Okay. Are we ready? We can call this meeting back into session. We have an answer from our general counsel. Hello, Jamie.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. Okay, so I apologize. It was not in the district's policy, but it is in the district's charter. So I'm going to go through the analysis really quickly. So there is a government code section 1099 that says that a public officer, including an appointed or an elective official of a governing body, which is the board of directors of the IVCSD, shall not simultaneously hold two public offices that are incompatible. And there's a little bit of an analysis that goes into what constitutes an incompatible office, which would be based on the powers and jurisdiction of the offices. There is a possibility of a significant clash of duties or loyalties between the offices. And public policy considerations make it improper for one person to hold both offices. So in this case, it is likely that there would be a clash of duties between the IVCSD and the IVRPD, particularly with regard to public policy considerations. So that's the general rule. However, when you're interpreting the law, you interpret the law first looking at the general rule, and then you look at any specific rules or any exemptions that would apply. So in our case, we do have a specific statute, government code section 602, sorry, I can never remember exactly what it is.
250.
60250 that has an incompatible office subdivision. And I'll paraphrase, but it basically says that any public officer within the county of Santa Barbara, is deemed to not have an incompatible office based on this code section. So basically the specific would trump the general, meaning there would not be an incompatible office if the appointee was to take both a position in the IVRPD and the IVCSD.
Okay. So they are not incompatible.
Correct.
Okay.
So now I feel like this is kind of derailed a little bit because now I feel like we're choosing between like what is more valuable, like IVCSD and AS is a like connection,
yeah,
or IVCSD and RPD, which like I don't know, that like kind of bothers me, but I don't really know what to.
Although Jeff has not been elected.
That is true.
Mhm.
Yes.
That is 100% true.
And
But I have no
stated
doubt
that did
that.
not want to do. It's uncontested, and when I go to ballot, unless somebody goes in at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Which probably not. So congratulations.
That's a little bit jumping the gun.
Yeah.
But we also don't want to be like poaching anybody, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I don't necessarily see it the way you do. This actually almost is like I don't want to say a best case scenario, but knowing that too, that this is an uncontested election that is not going to the ballot, makes me feel really good that we have that you will very likely have the opportunity to serve the public on the IVRPD board. And I think that is a really good thing. And so for me, the way that impacts the decision is to say, what is the best way, knowing that to make use of the different talent that we have in the community when it comes to this decision.
Oh, that's true.
And I think also for me, it comes down to an institutional relationship specifically, because we already do have, you know, a pretty like the RPD and CSD are, you know, kind of like siblings of Isla Vista. You know, they already have a pretty good, you know, institutional partnership of even like, you know, with Children's Park being renovated, you know, we're hosting the summer camp. But with Associated Students, it's like, they're almost like our neighbors, you know, like they're always there, but we're trying to get invited to their house more, you know? So I've been watching a lot of like teenage nostalgia shows and summer vacation. It's fine. But I do think that that kind of institutional partnership would be very valuable, especially seeing everything that happened with, or not happened in a bad way, but everything good that happened, with Soultopia, and seeing how helpful AS was, and then also the outreach that he's able to have with students there is already so much and already so great. That I think that institutional partnership could be cemented with that. And then, working forward with Jeffrey and the RPD going forward, we can still have that collaborative partnership just because the institutional track is already there.
I'm persuaded to change to Noah.
Okay.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
Makes sense.
I honestly am 100% split between the two, but it seems like we have a majority, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we can go forward with the process again, and also with the note, we're not breaking up. Still come visit us, still come see us, still come work with us. We want to work with you all the time in collaboration on the Parks Board. Because we love the parks. We do want to continue to work with you because we love your passion for Ivy, just as we all have it too. Yeah, the parks are great. And I just want to tell you this, I also have a really cute dog, so we can coordinate that later. Alrighty.
So you still need to make a motion.
Yes, so we
ratify
can
the
make
decision.
a motion. We can go through with our votes now. Okay, so I will go forward voting for Noah Lucan.
I vote no looking.
I'll vote Jeffrey.
No, listen.
And now you have to make a motion to ratify.
Okay,
Noah.
so I will make a motion to ratify the appointment vote. Do we have the vote again or just 3-1?
I think you will have to vote.
Okay.
Like this is the actual vote.
This is the official.
Yeah.
I'll help move us along and
Thank
say,
you so much.
I move to appoint Noah Lucan to the vacancy on the board of directors.
I'll second it.
Fantastic. And then if we could get a roll call vote on the appointment vote.
Director Carmichael?
So we say Noah instead of
No.
yes.
Now you vote yes,
Okay.
no,
Yes.
abstain.
To ratify.
Yes.
Director Carmichael?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Cepos?
Yes.
Toplet?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Congratulations,
much.
Noah. Very God.
Thank you.
I can't imagine a kinder way to have to conceive.
And we're so excited to work with you.
Yes.
You're all
So
very-
please do.
Yeah, we're so looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
And realistically, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna think being on the Parks Board will be probably so much greener. I can take my dog there and I can go to meetings with this minutia knowledge. And speaking of which, we have an alumni of both
Yes.
Parks Academy.
Yes, we have it alum. But thank you again for sticking around, and I look forward to our partnership that I know we will have to make IV great. And I'd love to, get coffee and
ID
talk
is
about
great, all right.
yes, even more. I like it. We should definitely, get coffee and chat about the old times. Yeah.
Well,
Thank
it's
you
great.
Alrighty.
so much.
Everybody,
Thank you
glad
so
we
much.
Rolled in, so there we go.
Alrighty,
Yay.
folks.
Congrats, Noah.
Noah, are you, we can't
Congratulations.
see you, or at least on our system. Are you there?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you all so
Happy
much. I really
Wednesday,
appreciate this
Noah. Thank
opportunity.
you.
This will be your longest meeting ever, hopefully.
And he's headed to, are you in
Well-
the East time zone?
He's in Minnesota.
I'm
Is
Central Time,
Minnesota
so it's
Eastern?
2 hours later.
Okay.
It's 11:25.
All right.
But no,
we will
this
get
meeting is
you,
nothing compared to the Senate meetings we had to sit through sometimes, so this is okay.
Well, we will end so that you can have only one day long of a meeting.
Wait, does he have to
Awesome.
come for a closed session now?
Technically, he can't, I mean, yes and no. I don't know, Jamie, what do you think? Like, yes, you can if the board invites him to, but he's not officially participating. He can't vote.
He can't
Yeah,
vote.
I would wait until he takes his oath.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's right. You have to do that
Yeah.
first.
Take
So-
the oath of office, very important.
we could do that.
Yeah, we will do that at your next board meeting when you can take your oath. Fantastic.
Awesome. And yeah,
Alrighty.
thank you all, and I'll be in touch with all you guys soon, I'm sure, for next steps, and I'm excited to work with you guys.
Yes.
Noah, really quick, are you available September 8th for the board meeting? We're trying to see if we have quorum.
No,
No,
I will be out of the country.
but September 22nd.
Yes, I will be here.
Okay, so that's when we'll do the swearing
Real
in.
baby.
Okay.
And then
Fantastic.
I'll be here in August as well. I don't know if it can happen that early, but the next August meeting I should be here.
We can do the oath separately from the meeting. So, but it's
We
just,
canceled
just
the
do
August 25th meeting too.
yeah, but we can swear them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no August 25th, just your first meeting will be September 22nd.
Fantastic.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be moving into closed session now.
Good night.
So thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ethan, for stopping by, and I will look forward here. Oh,
You've been doing great. You've been doing great work over here. Yeah, I look fine. I know you're doing fine.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to school.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
So are you guys getting the reports?
Oh, can we do that technically out of closed session
You don't
afterwards?
have
Because I
to
already
do it at
called
all.
it.
You can just skip it. Yeah,
We can skip the reports.
of course.
Hey, do we
It's
need,
your meeting.
do we need to make any reports or can I skip the reports? Okay, we can skip the reports.
I think we're already in recess.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Safe drives. Safe travels. Thank you for coming by in the summer.
Yeah, I love reading
Wait,
that.
Did we announce closed session?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we didn't read it out.
No,
We have to read
we
it
have
out.
to read it out for closed session. Okay, so we are now moving into closed session for one item, general manager evaluation, which is authorized under California Government Code 54957B1.
Okay, let me get it ready.